We all remember the Bryan Kohberger case, right? I mean, the shockwaves through Moscow, Idaho. It was everywhere, nonstop news, everyone trying to figure things out.
Absolutely. Intense public interest.
But recently, another name has sort of entered the conversation, sparking even more questions. Emma Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Who is she? And, how might she connect to everything that happened on King Road? That's really where our deep dive begins today.
Exactly. And today, we're navigating, well, it's a complex web of information, really.
Yeah.
Stuff drawn from online investigations, the kind you find on YouTube channels. And just to be clear, our goal isn't to, confirm or deny anything definitively. It's more about understanding the different threads people are talking about, the ones linking Emma Bailey to Bryan Kohberger and the murders, based on what's out there online.
Got it. So it's about laying out the different pieces of the puzzle people are trying to put together.
Precisely. Giving you, the listener, a chance to understand these threads and form your own perspective.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. Who is Emma Bailey, and why did her name even surface in the first place?
Hello, Deputy Miller Sheriff's Office.
Hello.
Driver's license, vehicle registration. Reason we're chatting is running the red light.
Yeah. Oh, was it red?
Mine was green when you cleared the intersection.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was yellow when I went, so I'm sorry. It was yellow when I went. I'm sorry if it turned red.
What does yellow usually mean?
Go slow.
Yeah, because it's changing. You gotta come to a stop.
My apologies. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're correct.
Do you have your vehicle registration?
Yes, I do.
Where are we coming from tonight?
Oh, just the, over in Emporium.
Okay.
In Pullman.
All right. How much have you had to drink tonight, Emma?
None.
You've had something.
Some?
Yeah, you've had some.
Not enough to drive.
Okay. Hop out for me, would you?
Okay.
Is your buddy in the back seat okay there? He's just head bobbing over there.
Oh, no, he should be fine. Sorry. You want me to turn my car off, or?
You can leave it run for them.
Okay.
You got your stuff fell out there, just so you're aware.
Okay. Sorry, my head thing fell off.
Okay. Just come stand right here for me. I'm just going to knock those lights down for just a minute. I ask is I can smell odor of alcohol coming from inside the car, okay? So I want to make sure you're okay to drive.
Of course.
So I can't tell if it's you or if it's them that's been drinking, right? I see you're wearing a wristband. Where's the wristband from?
Emporium.
From
Timber.
Timber, okay.
We're going from Emporium right now.
Okay. Have you had any alcohol tonight?
I have.
Okay. How much have you had to drink tonight?
1 beer.
How long ago?
At 9 p.m.
Okay.
At Timber here. And then I was driving them to Emporium, and then we came back to Timber to get their car.
Okay. Would you mind doing some voluntary field sobriety tests to make sure you're safe to drive?
Yes.
Do you have a jacket by chance?
I have
It's chilly out here, and it's going to take a few minutes.
Yes.
You can put your jacket on if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
16 out testing. 16 out testing. We're gonna step up here on the sidewalk.
Okay.
That way we're out of the road. Okay. So like I said, these are all voluntary.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any head trauma in the last 24 hours?
No.
Been in any car wrecks or anything?
No.
Okay. I'm going to have you put both feet together, hands at your side, and I want you to remain in this position while we do this first one, okay? Do you wear contact lenses or glasses?
I do not.
Okay. You see the tip of the pen right there?
Yes.
Can you follow it with your eyes and your eyes only for me?
Is it okay if I blink?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, for this last one, we're going to go up. Same thing, keep your head still just with your eyes. So for this next one, we're going to, imagine a straight line out in front of you.
Okay.
Your left foot's on that line right now. I want you to put your right foot in front of it, touching heel to toe, just like I am right now.
Okay.
Can you do this for me? Keep your hands at your side, and I want you to remain in that position while I explain and demonstrate the next test, okay? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps down that line. You're going to take a series of small steps to turn around, come back the way you are, and take 9 more
So
heel-to-toe.
9 steps, then turn around.
Yep, and then 9 heel-to-toe steps back. It's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Go ahead and get back in that position for me. There you go. So you're going to take 9 steps. I took 3. When you get to that 9th step, you're going to take a series of small steps around your lead foot, and you're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps back.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and so on until you get to 9.
Okay.
During this one, I want you to look down at your toes, count each step out loud, keep your arms at your side, and once you begin the test, don't stop until you're completed.
Okay.
Do you understand those instructions?
So go 9 forward, then come 9 back?
Yep. So 9 heel-to-toe steps down, turn as I instructed, and 9 heel-to-toe steps back. Okay. I can demonstrate again if you'd like me to.
No, I think I understand.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep, and that's fine. I have no problems with asking questions.
Okay.
You may begin. All right.
Good?
Yep. Go ahead and turn and face back towards me. So we're going to go back to that first position again. Feet together, hands at your side. The next one's a one-leg stand.
Okay.
Pick a leg of your choice. Raise it approximately 6 inches off the ground. You're going to keep your toe pointed so your foot's flat to the ground. And you're going to look at your toe and count out loud. 1001, 1002, 1003, and so on until I tell you to stop.
Okay.
During this one, I want you to look down at your toe, count as instructed, arms at your side, and keep your legs straight.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on that one?
No, just until you stop.
Yep.
Okay.
Give me just a second here. Which leg are you going to raise up?
My right.
Okay. You may begin.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1009. Oh, sorry. My balance is off. 1008, 1010, 1011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016.
You can stop.
Okay.
Go ahead and put your foot
Sorry,
down.
I don't have good balance.
I get it. I get it. It's a little cold out here too,
My
huh?
apologies.
Oh, get the pocket undone here. So the last one is called the preliminary breath test. Okay. It's not in lieu of the evidentiary breath test. It's like blowing up a balloon. Deep breath in and blow out.
Okay.
All right. Deep breath in and blow. Keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing. So you got to blow hard, okay? Not super hard, but...
My apologies. So I've never done this before, so...
Right, and that's why I'm trying to explain it to you. So
okay.
You got to have a consistent like pressure
that?
out, okay?
Okay.
Deep breath in and blow. There you go. All right. How old are you?
22.
22. Okay. How long ago was your last drink?
About an hour ago.
Okay.
I left from Emporium. I'm supposed to be DDing for my friends here.
Okay. If you had to guess, what is the legal limit?
I have no idea.
It's 0.08.
What does that
mean? Because you're over 21.
What does that mean?
And right now you're at a 0.166. Okay? So right now
can you tell me what that means,
right now
please?
you're under arrest for DUI.
Okay.
I'll explain everything to you as we go. Is anybody in the car sober to drive?
You can ask.
Okay. The one in the back right seat was head bobbing, barely keeping his head up.
Okay. Alright.
So first things first here, I gotta read you your rights, okay? So right now you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to the presence of an attorney during questioning, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you prior to questioning if you so desire. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights, not make any statements or answer any questions. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
Okay. Just so you're aware, I am recording as well.
Okay.
I'm recording. Do you have anything in your pockets? Is there any pockets?
No, I have
Okay.
nothing.
All right.
So, what does a DUI look like? Like, I don't understand. Like, I've never had a DUI, so I don't know.
We'll explain all that when we get there. So we're going to go to Pullman Police Department, and that's where we go through the DUI process, okay? So we're going to go back here to my car. Go ahead and have a seat there. Is this your car?
Yes.
Okay. So if nobody in the car is sober to drive, what do you want us to do?
So everything in the car pretty much is Marilyn's.
Okay.
And then...
And Marilyn's in the car?
Yeah, she's in the front.
Okay.
So that's her stuff.
Okay. So if no one in that car...
I just drove them home.
Okay, so it's her car.
No, it's my car.
It's your car, okay.
Yes.
So if nobody can drive, can I safely park your car in the parking lot here?
Of course.
If
And
they
then
can
it
find
gets
a ride?
towed, or?
No, I'm not going to tow it.
Okay.
I'm trying to find a safe place to park it off the roadway so it doesn't get towed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Hang tight for me.
Thank you.
Well, Emma Bailey is 22 years old, resident of Moscow, Idaho. And what's immediately interesting is her address. She lived really close to the King Road house.
Oh, close.
Like right behind it, basically. And public attention really zoomed in on her more recently because she was arrested.
Right, I heard about that with another guy.
Yeah, with a 36-year-old named Demetrius Robinson. They were arrested south of Seattle, accused of providing fatal drugs. That happened earlier this year.
Wow. Okay.
And it's maybe worth remembering, she also had an earlier DUI arrest back in 2025, which had already brought her some, local attention.
And this recent drug arrest, that seems to be fueling one of the main theories, the whole DoorDash delivery thing.
That's right. It feeds right into it. One theory that's gotten a lot of traction online is this idea that maybe, just maybe, Emma Bailey was the DoorDash driver.
The one who delivered food to the King Road house really late.
Yeah, around 4 a.m. on November 13th, shortly before the tragic events unfolded. And this connects to the probable cause affidavit.
Because that mentioned a Jack-in-the-Box order, right?
Exactly. A probable cause affidavit, just for context, is that sworn statement law enforcement uses, outlining why they think there's enough evidence for an arrest. So the fact that this specific order is mentioned in that document makes the delivery details seem pretty significant.
Okay. And is there anything backing up the idea that it was Emma Bailey?
Well, there are reports, unconfirmed, mind you, but circulating that Emma Bailey's mother actually confirmed she was working as a DoorDash driver around that specific time.
Interesting.
And on top of that, both Jack in the Box itself and another source apparently confirmed that the driver who made that particular delivery was a young female with black hair.
Which matches Emma Bailey's description.
It does. She's known to have long hair, sometimes dyed black. So that detail definitely stands out to people investigating online.
This is where it gets really, really intriguing. That YouTube channel, JR Investigates. They brought up this video clip.
Oh, the noise complaint one.
Yeah. From months before the murders at the King Road house.
Right. What's fascinating, or maybe chilling, about that clip is this moment where you hear someone yelling, "Bailey, Bailey!"
And then someone comes out.
Yeah, a young woman with dark hair comes out of the house. And the YouTube investigator does this side by side, comparing her to Emma Bailey from her DUI arrest footage.
And is there a resemblance?
Well, they argue there is.
Yeah.
Subjective, of course, but it certainly makes you wonder. It immediately raises the question, had Emma Bailey been to the King Road house before? Did she know people there?
And that ties into Ashlyn Couch, doesn't it? One of the former roommates.
Exactly. Ashlyn Couch. She lived in the King Road house, but moved out before the murders happened, although she was apparently still in the lease. And the reported connection. Emma Bailey and Ashlyn Couch are apparently friends on Instagram.
Like, say that. I don't quite understand what that means. Like,
Okay.
Could you understand?
Do you want to talk to an attorney right now?
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Could you read it to me again?
Do you want to exercise your rights at this time?
That means, do I want to talk to an attorney?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's what this is. By reading this and signing here, it's saying right now you do not want to exercise your rights and speak with an attorney right now.
What is the difference? I'm sorry, I don't know if you're the
So,
person to ask or not. But I
cannot give you legal advice.
Okay.
I can reread things that are on this form, but I cannot give you legal advice.
What can you tell me what would happen if I did or did not talk to an attorney?
If you want to speak with an attorney, I'll call one and we'll go in that room and you'll talk to an attorney on the phone.
Are they available at this hour?
Yep, 24 hours a day. We always have an on-call attorney.
Could I speak to one?
Yep.
Are they able to give me legal advice?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I just want to learn, so.
Yep. All right.
Another little link people point to.
Right. Okay, so let's shift gears slightly to Demetrius Robinson, the man arrested with Emma Bailey more recently. What do we know about their connection?
Well, the information that's out there publicly suggests they might have been in a romantic relationship. Remember, he's 36, she's 22.
Okay.
And interestingly, public record searches reportedly show that Demetrius Robinson might have received mail, or maybe even had credit cards, linked to Emma Bailey's address.
Her address, which is right behind the King Road house.
Correct, which obviously raises eyebrows. There's also some online chatter, speculation really, that Emma Bailey might have done some modeling work for him at some point.
Okay, so we've got proximity to the scene, a potential prior visit to the house based on that video, a link to a former resident via social media, and now this drug arrest with someone who seems closely tied to her address.
Wow. A lot of circumstantial threads, yeah.
But then the J is for Justice podcast introduced something else entirely. A pool party.
Yes. They explored this theory about a possible meeting and encounter between Bryan Kohberger and Emma Bailey way back on July 9th at a pool party.
A pool party? Where was this?
It was at the Grove. That's an apartment complex near the university. Lots of UOI students live there. Apparently, Bryan Kohberger was there because his neighbor, Christian Martinez, invited him.
Okay. And did anything stand out about Kohberger's behavior at this party, according to the podcast?
Well, several things were reported by people who were there. He apparently talked to another guy named Salem John.
Huh?
He also went up to the DJ, Zach Cartwright, and started asking really specific technical questions about his speakers and sound system. Cartwright apparently found it pretty odd.
Weird.
Yeah. And maybe more notably, he said to have approached two women at the party, asked for their numbers quite abruptly, and then just left soon after.
And those women reported something later, didn't they?
They did. They apparently received a series of hang-up calls afterwards. They didn't connect it to Kohberger at the time, obviously, but recalled it after his arrest.
Okay. And the FBI looked into this pool party, right?
They did. Investigators interviewed people who attended. They specifically asked if anyone took photos or videos.
Trying to see if the victims were there.
Presumably. Or maybe Kohberger interacting with someone specific. But no photos or videos showing the victims at that party has surfaced, as far as we know.
But this leads to the podcast's big what if.
Exactly. What if Emma Bailey was also at that pool party? Could she have been one of the people Kohberger's interacted with? Maybe even one of those women.
And if she was there, that could be another potential connection point between her and Kohberger, however brief.
Precisely. And given the later drug allegations against Bailey, a potential meeting at this party months earlier, well, it opens up possibilities for different kinds of connections or interactions people are speculating about.
Right.
Plus, you have the geographical element again. Bailey, living so close to the King Road house, means her phone might ping the same cell towers that Kohberger's phone allegedly did. That cell tower data is a big part of the prosecution's case, showing proximity.
How does this pool party theory potentially interact with Kohberger's defense? They've mentioned an alibi.
Right. The defense has stated they have information showing Bryan Kohberger was somewhere else when the murders occurred. So, if Emma Bailey was at that pool party and did interact with Kohberger, well, it could offer an alternative reason for any potential link or data point the prosecution might have connecting them, separate from the night of the murders.
Did the podcast find anyone who could confirm Bailey was there?
The host mentioned talking to 7 people who were at the party. When asked specifically about Emma Bailey, the answers were apparently pretty vague, ranged from, I think she was there, to she might have been. No definitive yes or no, just uncertainty.
Okay, so...
Well, he knows the process, so I hope he answered your questions for you. Let's see. 0232. Okay, so even though you've talked to him on the phone, I'm going to go back through and reread your rights before we can continue with the process. I won't. The only thing I'm going to ask you, there's one question, and it's will you take the breath test? And I'll get to that later, okay, so don't answer it now. But right now you have the right to remain silent. You have the right at this time to an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. If you are under the age of 18, anything you say can be used against you in a juvenile court prosecution for a juvenile offense and can also be used against you in an adult court criminal prosecution if the juvenile court decides that you are to be tried as an adult. You have the right to talk to an attorney before answering any questions. You have the right to have an attorney present during the questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you without cost if you so desire. You can exercise these rights at any time. Do you understand these rights?
Yes. As far as I know.
Okay. I'm just going to put a new timestamp on here. Whoops. I hit the space bar and made the page go down. Come back. Okay, we're going to do that mouth check again because you've been in here by yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't think you probably put anything in your mouth.
Of course not.
Before we do that, I'm going to. Do you want to switch? Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to go in here real quick while they get through their part.
Come on out.
Okay. Yes, please.
We're going to come over here, let him wander in there.
We're just going to switch you guys out real quick.
You want to sit on the
All right, I'm going to put you back in those handcuffs again. We'll do the mouth check. We'll continue on, okay? All right, go ahead and have a seat there.
So, still just a theory. The J is for Justice podcast also talked about something broader, didn't they? Like narcotics trafficking in Moscow.
They did, yeah. They raised this possibility of like a wider narcotics trade, maybe operating around Greek Row in Moscow.
Yeah.
And they questioned whether that could somehow be connected to the murders.
How so?
Well, they referenced information from the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, about the flow of fentanyl precursors from China, how cartels in Mexico process them, and how these drugs end up in distribution networks that reach college towns like Moscow.
And did local law enforcement have anything to say about that?
They mentioned Sheriff Brett Myers, who leads the Quad City Drug Task Force. He apparently confirmed that, yes, they do work cases involving college students dealing drugs like MDMA and cocaine in the area.
But did he connect it to the murders?
He apparently stated he couldn't definitively say if drugs played a role in these murders, but he acknowledged it couldn't be ruled out as a possibility. It's still on the table, I guess.
And did they ask if the victims might have known Bailey and Robinson?
According to the podcast, when that question was posed, the answer was described as an unqualified maybe, which is vague. But they did note, again, the Ashland Couch Instagram connection to Bailey as a potential link.
An unqualified maybe. Okay. Let's turn our attention to the Reddit speculation now. What kind of theories were being tossed around there?
Oh, boy. Well, Reddit, as you can imagine. Lots of theories flying around on the R. Bryan Kohberger Moscow thread. One prominent one suggested Emma Bailey was maybe selling drugs to Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin.
Okay.
And that maybe some kind of conflict involving Demetrius Robinson was the spark, the catalyst for the murders.
Wow. Okay. That's a specific theory.
It gets more specific. This theory even proposed that Emma Bailey being the DoorDash driver wasn't random, but part of a plan.
A plan? How?
The idea was that maybe Demetrius and others used the delivery as a way to get access to the house. Maybe targeting Xana specifically, possibly over a drug-related issue.
And people connected this to something Steve Goncalves said.
Some users did, yeah. They interpreted a comment attributed to Steve Goncalves, Kaylee's father, about the attackers not needing to have gone upstairs as potentially supporting the idea that there was a specific target downstairs, like Xana.
Did the Reddit users bring up any other names or potential connections in this drug theory?
Yes, someone mentioned a name, Brent Kopaka. connecting him somehow to Seattle, and pointed out that Demetrius Robinson is from Tacoma, so suggesting maybe a wider drug network stretching beyond just Moscow.
Okay.
They also brought up a really tragic detail, claiming that a young man who reportedly died from drugs, allegedly sold by Bailey and Robinson, was not only a former president of Ethan Chapin's fraternity, but also a student journalist who had been investigating drug activity at the university.
Oh, wow. That's got quite a claim.
Absolutely. Needs verification, of course, like much of this.
Yeah.
Another theory mentioned an Adam, possibly referred to in some communication, suggesting this Adam might be Demetrius Robinson's brother, who supposedly owns a white Elantra.
A white Elantra, the same make and model linked to Kohberger.
Exactly. So trying to tie it all together in a different way.
But there were questions raised on Reddit, too, right? About whether these theories even made sense.
Oh, definitely. Skepticism is alive and well on Reddit, too. Some users pointed out, why would Emma Bailey need to pose as a DoorDash driver if Xana already knew her? Wouldn't Xana just open the door?
Good point.
They also noted potential clashes with the reported timeline of when Xana was supposedly active on TikTok that night. Doesn't quite line up, some argued.
So alternative ideas about the DoorDash delivery.
Yeah, others speculated maybe the delivery wasn't about gaining entry, but maybe a way for killers already inside to leave without drawing attention. Or maybe for the main perpetrator to arrive unnoticed during the drop-off.
Complex scenarios.
Very. There was also debate about how realistic it is to specifically select your DoorDash driver if you're trying to arrange a drug deal that way.
Yeah, can you even do that?
Seems unlikely, right? But then there was talk of maybe a coded system, ordering from Jack in the Box via DoorDash as some kind of signal for a drug transaction.
Getting pretty elaborate.
It is. And the driver question kept coming up. Could it have been Emma Bailey? Or maybe Ashlyn Couch, the former roommate? And then there was an even darker theory floated, that maybe Emma Bailey had somehow drugged the victims before the murders even happened.
Just pure speculation at this point.
Pure speculation, absolutely. Generated by the online community trying to make sense of limited information.
It's really important here to circle back and remember that Bryan Kohberger is the one arrested.
Yeah.
And investigators seized a lot of items connected to him. How does that stuff fit in or maybe challenge these theories about Emma Bailey?
That's a crucial point. The seized items add, well, more pieces to an already confusing puzzle. Remember, they executed search warrants at his family's home in Pennsylvania, his apartment at WSU, and on him personally when he was arrested.
And what kind of things did they find?
From his parents' house, things like a knife, a book with some underlining, black face mask, black gloves, dark clothing, typical stuff you might associate with the crime, perhaps.
Okay. And his car?
Yeah.
The Elantra?
In the white Elantra, they found more gloves, hiking boots, a shovel, some maps, receipts.
And on him.
When arrested, he had a flashlight and, interestingly, medical-style gloves on him.
So how does this connect back to the Emma Bailey theories, especially on Reddit?
Well, one Reddit user raised a really key question. If Kohberger's only connection was maybe buying drugs from Emma Bailey, as some speculated, how did his DNA allegedly end up on that knife sheath found at the crime scene, near Maddie Mogan?
Right. A drug deal wouldn't explain that directly.
Exactly. It suggests some more direct involvement, according to that user's logic. Which then leads back to other questions. Was there another type of interaction? Or was the drug theory just wrong? Some even speculated maybe Kohberger was simply a customer buying drugs from Bailey.
So the seized items don't directly involve Bailey, but they complicate narratives that try to minimize Kohberger's alleged role.
Precisely. They ground the investigation back to him, while these other theories swirl around the periphery.
Okay. And just to cover all bases, there was also that body cam footage from Emma Bailey's DUI arrest. What did the Transparency body cam video show?
Right, that gave a glimpse into a separate incident. It showed her being pulled over in Pullman, Washington for running a red light.
And the officer suspected DUI.
Yes, the officer noted the smell of alcohol. Bailey admitted she'd had some to drink, but said she felt it wasn't enough to drive. Standard denial, perhaps.
Did she do sobriety tests?
She did voluntary field sobriety tests and reportedly showed some balance issues. Then the breathalyzer.
What was the reading?
It came back at 0.166 BAC, blood alcohol content, which is more than double the legal limit in Washington state.
So she was arrested.
Yes, arrested for DUI. The footage shows her acknowledging her rights, being cooperative generally, and being taken to the Pullman Police Department.
And bail.
There's audio of her making a phone call to arrange bail, and the amount mentioned was $500 cash. She also talked about where her car was parked, needing her key and phone back.
So it just provides a snapshot of a different interaction with law enforcement.
Exactly. Separate from the Seattle arrest, separate from the Moscow investigation, but part of the public picture of Emma Bailey that exists now.
Okay. So we have really journeyed through a lot of information here, a real deep dive.
Definitely.
We looked at Emma Bailey's background, her Moscow connection, that recent arrest, then the whole DoorDash driver theory, which keeps popping up.
The potential connections to the King Road house itself, through that noise complaint video, and the link to Ashland Couch.
Right. And the possibility, however speculative, of an encounter with Bryan Kohberger himself at that pool party months before.
Then broadening out to the wider context of potential drug trafficking in Moscow, the theories from the J is for Justice podcast.
And finally, diving into that tangled web of speculation on Reddit. The drug deals, the planned deliveries, the alternative suspects.
It's certainly a lot of threads, many of them looping back on each other, creating this complex picture of alleged connections and possibilities.
It really is, and I think it's so vital, as you said earlier, to stress again that the vast majority of this remains firmly in the realm of speculation. It hasn't been officially verified by law enforcement or through court proceedings.
Absolutely critical to remember. We still have huge unanswered questions. Was Emma Bailey actually the DoorDash driver? Did she have any direct connection to the victims or to Bryan Kohberger? Did narcotics play any role, direct or indirect, in what happened that night?
And what is the real significance of all those items seized during Kohberger's arrest? How do they fit the final picture?
Those are the key questions the official investigation is hopefully answering.
This really just underscores how incredibly intricate and complex this case still is, even all this time later. And for you, the listener, I think it highlights the sheer volume of information, some factual, some deeply speculative, that just swirls around a case like this.
That's a constant flow.
And it's such a stark reminder of why it's so important to rely on verified, credible news sources for the official updates as the legal process unfolds.
Yeah.
But looking at how all these threads around Emma Bailey converge, even if they are speculative, it really does illustrate the many, many different angles that investigators and certainly the public online are exploring as they try desperately to understand what happened on King Road.
It shows the human need to find patterns, to find explanations, especially in the face of something so horrific.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given all these layers, the speculation, the reported details, the unconfirmed connections, what does this intense public focus on individuals like Emma Bailey, even without any definitive proof of her involvement in the actual crime? What does that tell us about our collective search for answers? About how we understand guilt, innocence, and justice when dealing with these profoundly disturbing cases?
That's a heavy question, something to definitely think about long after this deep dive ends.
Kara, what was your first reaction when you learned that your former attorney is representing the man accused of killing your daughter?
I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken because I trusted her. She pretended that she was wanting to help me, and to find that out that she's representing him, I can't even convey how betrayed I feel.
Have you had a chance to speak with her about this?
No, I haven't spoken with her. I found out through a friend who found it on Reddit. So,
You found out through a friend through social media. You weren't notified by Ann Taylor, your attorney,
No.
herself?
right now.
And have you tried to reach out to her?
No, I just found out today, literally. So, yeah.
So, I mean, just so many thoughts. It's so incredible that there is this connection. Are you going to try to fight this at all?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because as I understand it, this would require a waiver, something that you sign and that he would sign in order for her to go ahead and be able to do this legitimately. I can imagine the way your reaction is that you are not interested in signing a waiver to allow her to continue on.
Right, exactly. And I'd already given her power of attorney. I'd already signed over power of attorney so that she could help me with getting into rehab and whatnot. And so, I mean, I I don't understand how she could do this. I don't understand what happens now. Does she still have power of attorney, or what goes on now?
I don't even know where you want to start, but let's just start with this new reporting about another job that he lost, another firing. But this one was significant because he had professional training on how to fillet with an industry standard knife.
Yeah, this was really interesting. Our friend Jennifer Koffendorfer helped to dig this up. Basically, this goes back to 2011 from when Kohberger was in high school. He worked at that fish shop for about 4 months, and his job, and he was trained to cut and fillet raw fish. So he was handy with the knife, but he didn't do so well with the customers, as you mentioned. The owner of the shop said didn't really get along with customers, wasn't really polite to customers. The owner realized very, very quickly that he really wasn't a front of the house type employee, and essentially he really just didn't work out at all. And after about 4 months, he no longer worked there anymore.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a 911 call, you hear a woman scream, and then just silence.
Chilling.
Yeah. That's how this deep dive kicks off. We're on a rural Texas road, September 2016. We've about cops finding a real-life horror movie scene.
Mm-hmm. It throws you right into the aftermath, doesn't it? Total chaos.
Totally. So our mission today really is to try and make sense of this frantic scene, follow the threads, see where this bewildering story actually goes.
And what jumps out right away is how that initial picture, the woman in distress, it starts to fracture almost immediately.
Fracture how?
Well, you have this incredibly emotional 911 call, someone seemingly desperate. But then you look closer at the details she gives. And her story, it begins to unravel. Pretty quickly, too.
Okay. So, the setup. 2 deputies show up, isolated spot. They find Chacey Poynter, and she's completely hysterical.
Right.
She's saying her husband, Robert, he got shot. He was helping her with her Jeep, which she claims was stuck just down the road. She's begging them, help him, help him.
And one deputy rushes down there.
Exactly. He goes to find Robert.
And that first interaction, Chacey state, the specific thing she says right then, that becomes like a baseline,
Yeah.
Something to compare everything else against as the investigation moves forward.
Absolutely. We got to keep coming back to that initial picture she painted. So the deputy finds Robert. He's deceased, shotgun wound, but here's where it gets weird. Chacey says she only saw a shadow.
A shadow after a shotgun blast.
Right, just a shadow. She's frantic, described as having blood on her hands, keeps pleading for help. More people arrive, ambulance, other officers. But Robert's not brought up with them initially.
Which is interesting, isn't it? The focus isn't immediately on the victim for transport. It's on Chacey, the witness. What does that suggest about how they first saw the situation?
Good point. It suggests they're treating her as the primary person needing attention, maybe, or the key witness.
Could be.
Then Officer Meek gets there. He starts questioning Chacey in the back of the ambulance, reads her Miranda rights.
Okay, so that's the shift. Miranda rights, right to remain silent, right to an attorney. It's not just about helping anymore.
Exactly. It's officially an investigation now. And this is where the transcript of what she first tells Officer Meek, this is where the layers really start peeling back.
Right. Those first statements she makes, they become the foundation for this narrative that just keeps shifting.
Yeah.
Contradicting itself.
Yeah.
It's the first piece in a really complicated puzzle.
Okay, so what does she tell Meek initially?
She says she was driving her Jeep, coming from Quillen, going to meet Robert at a Jack in the Box. Says he texted her when she was like 3 miles out.
Mm-hmm.
Then she somehow went off the road.
Off the road.
Yeah. So she calls Robert. He apparently says he doesn't think he can get down to where she is, so they both walk up to where his truck is parked.
Notice how specific that is, though. Quinlan, Jack in the Box, the text, going off the road.
Mm-hmm. Very specific anchors for the initial story. Details investigators are definitely going to try and check, see if they hold up.
So then she says Robert uses his truck, tries to pull her Jeep out. She's at the back of the Jeep, goes to grab something, and then just hears a shot.
One shot.
One shot. The Jeep starts rolling, and she insists she saw nothing. Just that shadow again.
Still just a shadow.
Yells Robert's name, feels something on her, she doesn't say what, then she just runs, drops her phone. Oh, and she mentions falling in a big mud puddle.
Right, the mud puddle. That becomes important later, too. But this is her core story at first. Sudden attack, unseen shooter, panic, runaway.
Mm-hmm.
That detail about the shadow, though, with a fatal shotgun wound, likely close range, it's just very puzzling.
Puzzling is putting it mildly. It immediately makes you wonder. And she doubles down, insists she was out there alone with Robert, confirms his name, that he's a firefighter. She even gives a reason for going off-road, says she took a wrong turn because she was looking at her map, then points to the blood on herself, says, oh, that's because I fell on the mud when I was running.
See, the mud again. It's the explanation for the blood. Maybe for other things they might notice. It's a detail to watch as her story changes.
Definitely. Then, while the EMTs are checking her out, kind of out of the blue, she says, my wedding ring is gone.
Huh. Amidst all that chaos,
Yeah.
the ring.
Yeah. Seems minor, maybe, but like you said, it pops up again later and feels significant.
The timing is interesting, too. While getting checked out medically, is it genuine distress? Or is she maybe planting a detail? Hard to say at this point.
Right. So EMPs clear her. They move her to a police car. She says she's sore, swelling because she fell running.
Keeps mentioning the fall.
Yeah, reiterates the whole thing. I heard the shot, saw Robert slumped, ran, tripped in the mud puddle, lost the ring, lost her shoes, lost her phone, and that's why the 911 call cut off.
So the fall in the mud explains everything. Missing items, the dropped call. It's a very convenient explanation, repeated consistently. It feels like a core part of her initial script.
Seems like it. Then she starts talking about her marriage. Robert was 18 years older, says they'd been having problems. He'd even contacted a lawyer about divorce.
Okay.
And she claims she was okay with that. They'd been married almost 7 years. But then she says he told her recently he wasn't going to throw her stuff out, wanted her to come home. She said fine.
So, reconciliation.
Seems like it. She adds, he said he didn't want the divorce, and she didn't either. Says she loves him. It's quite the emotional swing just in describing the relationship right then.
It paints this picture, yeah. Troubled relationship, but maybe, just maybe, turning a corner. But notice the contradictions already. First, she's okay with divorce. Then suddenly, neither of them wants it. Early signs, maybe, of unreliability.
Definitely feels that way. Then they ask, okay, where were you coming from before the Jeep got stuck? She says a friend's house. Michael Garza.
Ah, Michael Garza, first mention.
Yep. And she really downplays it. Known him 4 or 5 months, just letting her stay at his place sometimes because he's rarely there. Claims he's in his 30s, doesn't know much about him.
Very vague, minimizing it. Like he's just some guy. Why might she do that, you think? Especially given what we learn later.
It absolutely raises a flag, doesn't it? It seems like she's trying to keep him out of it initially. So this intro to Michael Garza, like you said, just the start. They take her to the station for more questions.
Right. Interrogation room now.
Read her rights again. She says something like, wow, I've never been in this situation. Do I need a lawyer? They tell her, well, you're not under arrest, but you're not free to just walk out either.
That's standard. But her hesitation about the lawyer? It's understandable in high stress, but it also keeps the focus on her state of mind.
So they leave her alone in the room for a bit. And that's when she finally seems to notice, really notice the mud and blood on her arms.
Interesting. Takes her a while.
Yeah. Detective comes back in. She starts talking about problems with Robert going back maybe 2.5 years. Claimed she got violent, broke her phones, called everyone on her cake business phone bill.
Okay, so now we're getting allegations of past abuse.
Right. And it turns out Robert had filed for divorce back then. She'd moved out. But moved back in because apparently the divorce papers said she couldn't take their daughter if she left.
Ah, okay. So the daughter becomes a key factor, a potential reason she went back, even if things were bad, as she claims.
Exactly. She says after they got back together, things were okay for a while until Robert filed for divorce again, just recently. Mentions their 6-year-old daughter. Claims Robert was fighting her, trying to take the daughter away, saying he knew that would hurt her the most.
Painting him as vindictive now.
But here's a shocker. She says her daughter is her world, right? But when they ask where the daughter is right now, Chacey has no idea.
No idea.
Left her with some friends of, wait for it,
Yeah.
Michael Garza.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge contradiction. Professing devotion but having no clue where her child is at that moment. What does that say about her priorities or her story?
It throws serious doubt on things. And it gets wilder. These friends of Michael's, the ones watching the daughter, they actually drove over to Chacey and Robert's house earlier that night, found it empty.
Right.
On their way back, they see all the flashing lights on the road. They stop. And they tell the police, yeah, we're supposed to be watching the kid because Chacey was going on a date.
A date.
Yeah.
Not just visiting a friend. A date. That completely blows up her initial story about Michael Garza and why she was with him. That raises massive questions about her intentions that night.
Totally. Police then call Chacey's mom and stepdad. They come get their granddaughter. Understandably, they're frantic, asking police what's going on. Police can only say, Chacey's being detained, part of an investigation.
Imagine getting that call as a parent. Just
Yeah.
awful.
And meanwhile, Michael's friends, they're being cagey about Mikey Gar, claim they don't really know him that well.
Distancing themselves. Trying to protect him. Or themselves. More intrigue.
Back to the interrogation. Chacey admits she met Michael Garza on Facebook. Still insists they were just friends, despite what his friends just told the cops about a date.
Still sticking to that story, even when contradicted.
But then she shifts. Changes her story about earlier that evening. Admits, okay, yeah, we didn't just hang out, we had sex. Twice. While supposedly planning to meet her husband to reconcile. Exactly. Says her husband had no idea.
That's a major shift. It completely changes the dynamic, the timeline, her relationship with Michael. Her credibility is just tanking.
Absolutely. Then she tells this story about a recent fight with Robert. He kept asking about some text she got from an unknown number. She sends him screenshots, big fight ensues. He threatened to kick her out if she doesn't reveal who it was.
Okay, so this shows Robert was suspicious, right? And she was being evasive, hints at secrecy, infidelity maybe?
Yeah, the transcript notes this text message thing becomes crucial later. She goes on, claims Robert was violent over the years, hitting, grabbing her hair, but she never pressed charges, didn't want him to lose his firefighter job.
So the abuse claims continue. This could be her trying to establish a motive, maybe, for someone else wanting him hurt. But again, these are her claims. We need corroboration.
Right. And she mentions his ex-wife, Amy, but doesn't say much. We find out later, Robert and Amy divorced after 20 years because he cheated on her with Chacey.
Wow. Okay, so that adds a whole other layer to the history there.
Yeah.
He left a long-term marriage for Chacey.
Seems so. Chacey keeps going, says they'd been fighting for days. The night before the shooting, he called her names. She threatened to leave. But then the next morning, the day he died, she says, as she was leaving for work, he told her he still loved her, wanted her to stay. They agreed to talk later that day about staying together.
So back to the reconciliation story. But this directly contradicts what Michael's friend said, right?
Yeah.
That she was supposedly meeting Robert to get divorce papers signed.
Exactly. These conflicting accounts about their immediate plans, it's becoming a pattern.
A huge pattern.
And here comes another apparent lie. They ask who she was texting and calling while at Michael's house. She only mentions Robert and her friend Brad.
Brad. Okay, new name.
Yeah. And she downplays Brad, too. Just friends since they were 17. Absolutely no intimacy. Denies it completely.
Minimizing again. Just like with Michael initially. You sense a theme here.
Totally. But guess who comes in to talk to the police?
Let me guess. Brad.
Brad himself. And his story completely flips hers on its head.
How so?
He says they started talking on Facebook about 5 months back. Overlapping with Michael, mind you. And intimate. Try at least 6 days a week, probably 7.
Whoa. Okay, 6 or 7 days a week? That's
Yeah.
not just friends.
Not even close. And get this, unlike what she told Michael, Chacey had told Brad she'd been divorced since 2014.
So she's telling different stories to different men she's involved with while still married to Robert. Brad's testimony just demolishes her narrative, reveals this pattern of infidelity, lies,
Wow.
just a whole web.
It's a critical turning point. The detective goes back to the shooting scene details. Chacey repeats her story. Jeep stuck, heard shot, saw shadow, ran, fell in mud.
The original story.
But the detective's clearly not buying it anymore. He points out how unlikely it is. Someone shoots your husband at point-blank range and just lets you get in your car and drive off, unharmed.
Yeah, the logic doesn't track.
He also brings up the blood spatter on her arm. How does that fit with just running away and falling in mud?
Good point. Blood spatter suggests proximity, close proximity. Yeah. Much closer than just running past. The physical evidence starting to contradict her words directly.
And the detective remembers something else. Earlier, talking to Officer Meek at the scene, she did say she saw a man.
Ah, not just a shadow then.
Nope, she described him. Dark clothes, not as tall as the detective, which completely contradicts her later claim of only seeing a shadow.
She can't even keep her eyewitness account straight. From seeing a man to seeing just a shadow. Why change that detail? It just makes her look even less credible.
The detective confronts her head on, says, "Look, your story doesn't match the evidence. I think you might be more involved." He tries appealing to her, think about your daughter. Covering this up won't help her. Tells her flat out, I don't believe this random killer story.
Yeah, it's direct. Shifting tactics now. No more just listening. Now it's challenging, pushing back, suggesting involvement.
Chacey insists, I didn't shoot my husband. The detective says, okay, maybe not, but you were 5 feet away when he was murdered with a shotgun. Your story about seeing nothing, it makes no sense. He basically accuses her of lying.
That proximity issue again. It's the gaping hole in her story. How do you see nothing from 5 feet away from a shotgun blast?
Detective then asks for consent to search her phone, her purse, her place.
How does she react?
She hesitates, then signs. Still claims she has nothing to hide. But the detective pushes back again. Someone was right next to Robert. I find it really hard to believe you saw absolutely nothing.
That hesitation, even though she signed. It's another little red flag, isn't it? If you have nothing to hide, why pause?
Yeah.
Suggests she might be worried about what they'll find.
Definitely. Then the detective switches gears, asks if she ever vented to Michael Garza about Robert.
About the alleged abuse.
Yeah, she admits she did. Says Michael knew Robert hit her because he apparently saw bruises. She'd told Brad similar things too, Robert dragging her around. And Brad confirmed this, said he kept telling her, go to the police, Chacey.
So she was sharing these abuse stories with both men. Was it true? Was it to get sympathy? Maybe lay groundwork like we speculated? We still don't know for sure if the abuse claims are legit.
Right. And Brad reveals something else disturbing. Chacey told him about some incident where Robert claimed she pointed a gun at him, and Chacey allegedly responded, no, they'll carry you out in a body bag.
Whoa, okay, that flips the script a bit. Suggests she might have had a violent side too, or at least made threats. It complicates that victim narrative she's been pushing.
Hugely. Then we learn about a third man, Sean.
A third one. Seriously.
Yep. Met him at a firefighter event, connected on Facebook. He told police they'd been seeing each other about 10 months, overlapping with Michael and Brad.
Wow. So 3 affairs going on simultaneously.
Seems like it. And guess what she told Sean? Same story. Robert's abusive, threatening divorce, threatening to take the daughter.
Consistent narrative to all the men she's involved with?
And, just like with Brad, she made a chilling comment to Sean too. Said she wished Robert would just die in a fire.
Okay, wishing him dead now. That, combined with the abuse allegations told to multiple lovers, it paints a picture of deep marital problems and, frankly, a potential desire to have Robert gone. Permanently.
The detective picks up on this, presses her. Was the shooting orchestrated by Michael so they could be together?
Does she admit it?
Initially denies it.
Yeah.
Says she told Michael she was just going to stay with Robert. But then she admits Michael did say he was going to come over and beat Robert up. She claims she told him, no, don't get involved.
Okay, that's a subtle but big admission. She knew Michael was talking about violence towards Robert. Even if she claims she told him not to, she was aware of his intentions.
Right. The detective lays out his theory. Michael's involved. Chacey knew more, maybe saw it happen. She says, oh, I would have hoped Michael wouldn't do that, especially since he knew they were trying to reconcile.
But the detective jumps on that, right? The reconciliation versus...
Exactly. He points out the massive contradiction. You had sex with Michael that night. How does that square with wanting to fix things with Robert? He also mentions Michael's quick I love yous, his history of violence, says flat out, I think you saw Michael kill him, you panicked, that's why you weren't hurt.
The detective's theory is solidifying now. Her actions contradict her words. Michael's volatility is known, she's unharmed. It all points away from a random attack.
He confronts her again, hammering the point. 5 feet away, shotgun blast, you saw nothing. It's just not believable. And after this direct challenge, her story changes. Dramatically.
Finally. What does she say now?
She claims Michael did it. Says she did see it happen.
Okay. So she saw it. How does she know it was him?
Says he had a box of gloves at his place, camo shirt, camo gun, a trash bag. Specific items now.
Suddenly remembers all these details. Convenient. Sounds like she might be trying to shift all the blame onto Michael now, providing details investigators can look for.
Seems that way. And she adds something new, really disturbing. Claims Michael told her his family was in the Mexican mafia, that he could make people disappear.
Whoa. Mafia. Disappearances. That really escalates things. Paints Michael as incredibly dangerous.
And she claims she told Michael, that's not what I want. Which, again, contradicts what she said at the scene about never making threats towards Robert herself.
Right. It feels like another layer of deflection. Make Michael seem like this unstoppable force she couldn't control.
She also claims she told Michael she was going to dinner with Robert, and Michael threatened that if he saw Robert kiss her, he'd show up and cut Robert's lips off.
Just brutal threats.
Meanwhile, the detective reveals getting Michael's side is tough. He's vanished. Texas Rangers SWAT raid his house. No Michael. Just find more camo gear, black clothes, and a security camera pointed right at a wall.
Huh. Camera facing the wall? That's odd. Was he expecting them? Trying to hide something specific? Adds more mystery around Michael.
After a bathroom break, Chacey comes back with another version.
Seriously. What now?
Now she claims she did see Michael standing right there at the side of the Jeep. Says when she tried to leave the scene, Michael pushed her down. She dropped her phone. He picked it up, ended the 911 call, threw it down, and then she couldn't find it.
Okay, wait. That completely contradicts the mud puddle story for the phone drop and the call ending. Now Michael physically stopped her and handled the phone.
Exactly. Her story just keeps morphing. Every time she's challenged, a new detail emerges, often contradicting a previous one. It strongly suggests she's deliberately hiding the real sequence of events.
It really does.
And the transcript notes that slip-up she made when authorities first arrived, where she said, "I don't have his on my phone," talking about Robert's number. That seems way more significant now. Maybe Michael did take her phone to control things, delete stuff.
Plausible. Fits this new narrative she's spinning anyway.
Despite all this, she insists, "I didn't want Robert dead. I just didn't want to be with him anymore." But then, seconds later, contradicts herself again, saying, "No, I did want us to work things out."
It's impossible to know what she actually wanted or felt. Her statements are just all over the place, utterly unreliable.
And then there are her texts to Sean, the third guy.
Yes. What did those say?
Dark stuff. "I only have one way out of this, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, and I hate him so much more than I've ever hated anything in my life, and that she'd be better off if Robert was just gone."
Wow. Okay, that sounds like motive. Deep resentment, clear desire for him to be out of the picture. That's pretty damning evidence of her state of mind towards him.
So, after hearing this latest version, the detective has her write it all down. Official statement time. Warns her, lying now is a serious crime. This is your chance. Tell the truth before we talk to Michael.
Pressure's on.
Detective reads her 5-page statement and immediately finds another lie.
What is it this time?
The place where she claimed her Jeep got stuck. He tells her there aren't any trees there big enough to actually trap a vehicle like she described, and reminds her, "You initially said you were stuck, not just that you went off the road."
Even in the written statement, she's still manipulating details. The stuck Jeep story was flawed from the start. It's almost compulsive lying at this point.
Hearing this contradiction, she changes the story again.
Oh my God. Okay, what's the absolute latest version?
Now she claims, when Robert threatened to kick her out way back, she asked Michael, "What can we do?" And he supposedly said he'd have someone kill Robert or do it himself.
So now Michael initiate the murder plot talk.
According to this version, yes. She claims Michael wanted her to meet him in Dallas, stage it like a robbery, plan to burn Robert's truck, close. When that plan didn't happen, she finally admits. She drove down that specific rural road, went into the ditch on purpose, and called Robert to that exact spot. The spot Michael told her to stop at.
Okay, that is huge. Admission of premeditation. Luring him there. Setting the stage. She's finally admitting direct involvement in the setup, even if she's still trying to pin the actual trigger pull on Michael.
Right, and she recounts the shooting again. Robert pulls the Jeep out. Gunshot. He doesn't say a word. She claims she was screaming at Michael, "Stop, stop," because she just wanted Robert to know how worthless he supposedly made her feel, how he bullied her.
That explanation.
Yeah.
I wanted him to know how he bullied me. It sounds incredibly self-serving, doesn't it?
No.
Especially given everything else. It doesn't ring true after all the lies.
Not at all. And the deceit wasn't just with the police. Brad, the second guy, he revealed he was texting Chacey around 10 p.m. that night, just before the 911 call came in at 10:48.
What were they texting about?
She told Brad she was at the hospital, visiting her sick grandfather, who had supposedly just passed away.
What? A fake dead grandfather?
Apparently. She even sent messages suggesting she was heading to Brad's house later that night. Brad now thinks, and it seems pretty likely, she was trying to build a false alibi with that hospital story.
Wow. Actively constructing an alibi right before the murder. That shows incredible calculation and deception.
Brad also told police he suspected she was exaggerating the abuse claims against Robert. Maybe to get his sympathy, maybe even help.
It fits with what others said later.
Yeah. The day after Chacey's big interview marathon, investigators talked to Michael's mom and brother, urged them, get him to turn himself in. He'll be safe if he cooperates. But Michael doesn't come in right away.
He's still laying low. His continued absence just adds to the suspicion around him.
When Chacey's left alone again after writing her statement, she's apparently really distraught. Eventually, her mom and stepdad come in to see her.
Oh, that must have been intense.
You bet. Her mom confronts her directly, says, "I talked to Robert yesterday. I know he wasn't mistreating you like you claim." Chacey's own mother doesn't believe the abuse story.
That's powerful. If your own mother doesn't believe your claims against your husband, it speaks volumes. Likely confirms the abuse narrative was fabricated.
And others back this up. The neighbor, Amy, Robert's ex-wife of 20 years. Robert's own daughter, Nicole, all said basically, never saw abuse. Robert wasn't like that. Nicole even recounted times she saw Chacey faking abuse.
Just devastating testimony against Chacey's claims. Multiple people who knew Robert well, all saying the same thing. Paints a very different picture of him and of her credibility.
Back in the room, Chacey tries pleading with her mom. "I didn't want him killed, just scared." Her mom fires back. "You wanted Michael Garza to scare him. Stop lying, Chacey." As her mom leaves, Chacey cries out, "I told Michael not to do it."
I'd cry. I told him not to do it. Even if she's still denying intent, it suggests she knew what Michael was capable of, what he might do. And she didn't stop it effectively, if at all.
After composing herself, the mom comes back, urges her again, tell the truth. And Chacey adds one last little detail about her wedding ring.
The ring again. What now?
Now she claims Michael has it, along with her earrings.
Wait, but at the scene, she said she lost it in the mud puddle when she fell.
Exactly. Another direct contradiction right at the very end. Still changing the story, maybe trying to further implicate Michael.
Unbelievable. Just layer upon layer of lies.
The transcript wraps up with a few more key facts. Less than 2 weeks before Robert died, Brad ran into Robert at Chacey's house, even though she told Brad she lived alone. Suggests Robert knew or was suspicious about Brad, too.
So Robert likely wasn't totally clueless about her affairs.
Seems likely. Robert's daughter also confirmed, yes, Dad was planning to leave Chacey, and he planned to take their daughter with him.
Which gives Chacey a powerful motive to prevent that from happening.
In that interrogation room, Chacey's mom just expresses total heartbreak, disbelief. Ultimately, Chacey Poynter gets arrested, conspiracy to commit murder. Michael Garza turns himself in 2 days later, refuses to talk to investigators.
Smart move, probably, but his friends talked.
Yeah, his friends gave his version. Chacey set him up. He fled because he was scared after she allegedly said they were going to kill Robert. Then investigators found a shotgun and a balaclava in a field nearby.
The physical evidence.
In the end, Michael Garza, convicted, first-degree murder, 99 years. Chacey Poynter, also convicted, first-degree murder, life sentence.
A grim end to it all. The convictions, the discovery of the evidence, it brings a kind of conclusion, but highlights just how destructive that web of lies and deceit really was.
So you've just heard how a single frantic 911 call can completely unravel. It spirals into this incredibly complex mess of infidelity, manipulation, and ultimately a really brutal murder. The sheer number of lies Chacey told, it just hammers home how tough it is for investigators to find the truth when someone is actively trying to hide it.
Absolutely. In this case, it really makes you think about the destructive potential of deception in relationships, the tragic lengths people might go to when they're caught up in these kinds of tangled emotional situations and conflicts.
So consider this. How does that desire to just escape a situation, when it gets mixed up with multiple other secret relationships, hidden plans, how does it lead to something so utterly devastating? What does this deep dive really tell us about the dark side of human relationships, the extremes people might resort to?
It's a deeply disturbing glimpse, isn't it? Born from that one scream on the phone. It leaves you with a lot of heavy questions about motivation, deception, and just how far things can go. Okay, let's get into this one. Picture this. August 13th, 1996. You've got a guy in Mobile, Alabama, just standing in an electronics store, recording himself on camera. Seems pretty normal, right?
Yeah, totally mundane on the surface.
But then you find out this guy, he's actually a killer on the run.
Wow.
And at almost the exact same time, just over in Moss Point, Mississippi, there's an 18-year-old girl, Brooke Weber, who's just pulled off this incredible escape from something truly horrific.
It's that contrast, isn't it? The hidden darkness right next to this desperate fight for survival.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into that story, the case of Brooke Weber, who some called the girl in the butcher's box, and the murder of Jeffrey Wolf.
And we're drawing this from a YouTube transcript, right?
It gives a really detailed account of these just terrifying events.
It's chilling stuff. The kind of story that make you think about, how well you really know anyone, the masks people wear.
Definitely. So let's lay out the key people here. We've got Gary Simmons. He's the killer, the one making the recording.
Okay.
Then Brooke Weber, the young woman who escaped, incredibly brave. And Jeffrey Wolf, the victim, only 21. His life just cut short.
Such a waste.
And we also need to mention Jeffrey's dad, Pascal, and Gary Sims' wife, Lori. Her story is, well, it's deeply tangled up in all of this, too.
Right. So how do Jeffrey and Brooke even end up in this situation? It seems like it started pretty innocently.
Yeah, they'd met in Houston, Texas, just a few weeks before, in August '96. Jeffrey was really into Brooke.
Young relationship, just starting out.
Exactly. He even introduced her to his dad, Pascal, who apparently liked her a lot. And Jeffrey had this business trip planned to Mississippi, needed to collect some money.
Okay, so it wasn't just a joyride. There was a reason for the trip.
Right. And he asked Brooke to come along.
And that's how they end up at Gary Simmons' house in Mississippi.
That's it. They arrive on August 12th, late at night, and this is where Brooke gets her first, warning sign, her first bad feeling.
Oh.
What happened?
She said the house was completely dark, no porch light on, even though Gary knew they were coming.
That's odd.
Yeah, and she remembers seeing him sitting there on the steps, and she just thought he looked kind of creepy. Her words.
That gut feeling. Intuition.
Totally. But, Jeffrey had presented Gary as this friend, this business associate, so she trusted Jeffrey's judgment.
Which is understandable. You trust the person you're with.
Right.
We often override those little internal alarms, don't we?
Yeah.
Especially when someone reassures us.
It's so true. And then things take just a horrific turn. They're inside, in the kitchen, talking about the money, the business deal. Brooke isn't even really tuned in, thinking it'll be quick.
Just a normal conversation, seemingly.
And then suddenly, bang, gunshots.
Oh, my God.
Jeffrey shot right through the chest, falls right there in front of her.
No warning.
Just like that.
Just like that. And then she sees another guy she doesn't even know holding the gun. We later find out this is Timothy Milano.
A second person involved. Wow.
Her first thought, pure terror. She literally thought, oh, F, I'm going to die.
I can't even imagine. That shift from normalcy to absolute horror in a split second, and a stranger there too, that just ramps up the fear, the confusion.
And it gets worse. Fast. Gary grabs Brooke, drags her into another room.
Oh, no.
He hogties her hands and feet bound behind her back, gags her.
Oh, God.
And then he forces her into this human-sized wooden box and locks it.
A box. Like big enough for a person.
Exactly. Just locked inside. Total darkness, completely helpless. Can you even begin to comprehend that level of terror?
It's dehumanizing. More than just being tied up. It's like being buried alive. That complete loss of control, sensory deprivation. It's psychological torture designed to break someone.
And incredibly, the horror doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, Gary takes her out of the box.
Okay.
And he makes this awful demand, basically implying her survival depends on sexual compliance.
Oh, no.
She was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And they put her back in the box.
Back in the box after that. That's monstrous. It's pure power, control, degradation, pushing her back into that helplessness.
Just leaving her there with the trauma, the fear, not knowing what would happen next. But she survives the night.
Incredible resilience already.
And the next morning, something happens. A 911 call comes in. Someone reports a young woman, clearly in shock, banging on their door.
Is it Brooke?
It's Brooke. She's got a butcher knife. She's frantic, just repeating, they shot him. They shot him.
She got out. How?
We'll get to the details of the escape, but yes, to go through all that and find the strength to break free.
Yeah.
It's just astounding.
She's just remarkable.
Yeah.
That image clutching a butcher knife, fighting for help, that's not just a victim anymore. That's just a survivor fighting back.
So the police get involved, obviously. They go to Gary's house.
What do they find?
Well, that's the creepy part. The house itself. It's weirdly clean, almost sterile. No obvious signs of struggle. No blood visible right away.
He tried to clean up.
Seems like it. But they do find the box, and the house is near a bayou. Investigators start looking around outside. They find blood drops on a boat, and nearby, a bloody axe.
Oh, God, no.
And that leads them to the bayou itself, where they find 88 pieces of human remains.
88 pieces. Oh, my God. Jeffrey
Wolf, dismembered. The contrast is just sickening, the clean house, and then this absolute butchery just outside.
The level of violence is extreme. And the calculation to clean the inside but dump the evidence like that, it's chilling.
While all this is unfolding, Gary does something else. He sends a VHS tape to his wife, Lori.
A VHS tape? What was on it?
It's him talking, saying it's a real mess, that it wasn't supposed to go like that. He sounds almost remorseful, but then he says he didn't have much of a choice after he took Jeffrey's money.
Didn't have a choice. After taking the money, that's trying to shift the blame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Minimizing the murder.
Completely. And the transcript notes he had a history of abusing Lori. So this tape is this really disturbing window into his mind. Self-pity, justification, control.
Yeah, that history of abuse is crucial context, isn't it? Suggests a pattern. This wasn't just out of the blue.
Not at all. And Lori's story. It adds another layer of horror. Turns out, early in their marriage, back in like 1990, Gary told her he liked to write short stories.
Okay, a hobby.
Seemed like it until she found his binders, full of these graphic, awful stories about women being held captive, used as sex slaves.
Whoa. Okay, that's not just a hobby. That's deeply disturbing.
She confronted him, obviously horrified, and his response, he apparently said, well, these are my fantasies. I have secrets you know nothing about.
Chilling. That's more than a red flag. That's a blaring siren. Did she realize the danger then?
It's hard to say how much, but the abuse started physically, too. Not long after their first daughter was born, he forced himself on her. Marital rape.
Which back then wasn't always legally recognized or understood the way it is now, right?
Exactly. She was in shock, confused if it even counted as rape within a marriage. Then she found the box he'd built, like the ones in his stories.
He actually built one. Oh, my God.
When she confronted him about that, he attacked her, choked her unconscious, tied her to the bed, held a butcher knife to her face, like he was acting out those fantasies.
That's terrifying. He was escalating, bringing the fantasies into reality. She must have felt completely trapped.
Desperately. She did try to get help, went to the police about the rape and torture.
Yeah.
They told her there wasn't enough evidence.
Ugh. So frustrating. So common.
She tried to file for divorce, but found out she was pregnant again. And apparently, in Mississippi at that time, you couldn't get divorced while pregnant.
Seriously. Another barrier trapping her.
Yeah. She felt totally stuck, terrified for herself and her kids. Eventually, she did connect with domestic violence support groups, found an apartment, and managed to get herself and the kids out of the house.
Thank goodness. That takes incredible strength, navigating all those obstacles.
It really does. But here's another really tragic twist involving her family. Her younger brother, Timothy Milano.
Wait, Timothy, the guy who was there during this shooting?
The very same one. He'd actually been supportive of Lori after she moved out, helping her.
Okay. So what happened?
On the night of the murder, Timothy shows up at Lori's. Says Gary called him, needed his help with something.
And Lori knew about the abuse, right? She must have warned him.
She strongly objected, begged him not to go. But he insisted, said Gary sounded desperate, maybe threatened him. He promised he'd be back in an hour.
Let me guess, he wasn't.
Nope. Over 4 hours passed. Lori was frantic, calling Gary's house over and over, just hearing it ring and ring, going to the answering machine.
That unanswered ringing, that's actually connected to Brook's escape, isn't it?
It is.
Oh.
While Larry's calling, Brook is still in that box.
Yeah.
But the ringing phone actually wakes her up.
Wow.
She hears the answering machine pick up, maybe hears Lori's voice, and crucially realizes the house is empty. Gary and Timothy aren't there.
Her chance.
Her only chance. And somehow, even hogtied, she managed to work her hands free. She breaks out of the wooden box.
Unbelievable determination.
She grabs a butcher knife from the kitchen, the same kind Gary had threatened Lori with, and she runs for her life.
Go, Brook.
But as she's escaping, she sees Gary's car returning.
Oh, no. Close call.
Terrifyingly close. She hides, watching him go back inside.
Huh.
A few moments later, he comes rushing back out, realizes she's gone, and speeds off in a panic.
He knew the game was up.
She waits until he's gone, then runs to the nearest neighbor's house, banging on the door, knife in hand. And that's when the 911 call is made.
What an incredible sequence of events. The phone call, the realization, the fight. Just wow.
So Brook is now safe, relatively speaking, at the sheriff's department, but she starts overhearing things. Chatter about body parts being found in the bayou.
Oh, God. She must have realized.
Yeah. The horrible truth about what happened to Jeffrey. Meanwhile, Jeffrey's father, Pascal, gets the news. And guess who delivers it?
Not Timothy.
Timothy Milano. He tells Pascal that his son, Jeffrey, has been dismembered into 88 pieces.
How could he? The man who helped do it. That's beyond cruel. Imagine Pascal's grief and horror.
Unimaginable. And then Timothy goes back to Lori's apartment. And he confesses.
To Lori, what does he say?
He admits he helped Gary. Admits he shot Jeffrey. But he claims Gary threatened him, forced him.
Threatened him or not, he still participated. He pulled the trigger multiple times. Right?
Yes. The autopsy later showed Jeffrey was shot 7 times in the back, twice in the chest. Just brutal overkill.
And Pascal. The report said he felt utterly betrayed, right, because he'd actually helped Timothy out in the past.
Exactly. Just layers upon layers of betrayal and violence.
So what happens to Gary and Timothy?
Well, the next day, Gary actually calls the police himself. Says he wants to turn himself in.
Really? Where was he?
Bizarrely, they arrest him just a few blocks from Lori's workplace.
That seems intentional, like a final act of control or something.
It feels that way. So both Gary Simmons and Timothy Milano are indicted for capital murder. And Brooke's testimony is obviously going to be absolutely vital.
But she must have been terrified even with them arrested.
Completely. Living in constant fear, knowing what Gary was capable of. The psychological impact doesn't just stop when the immediate danger is over.
No, it lingers for a long, long time.
The trial happens about a year later. Brooke has to get on the stand and face Gary Simmons in court.
That takes incredible courage, facing the person who did that to you.
She said she was terrified, shaking, but she saw Jeffrey's parents there, and that gave her strength. She had to do it for Jeffrey.
Her testimony must have been powerful.
Devastatingly effective. The jury found them both guilty. Gary Simmons got the death sentence for murder, kidnapping, and the sexual abuse. Timothy Milano got life without parole for murder and kidnapping.
Justice served, in a legal sense at least. But
Yeah.
that doesn't just erase the trauma for Brooke, does it?
Not even close. The aftermath for her was long and difficult. She spent years living in fear.
Even with him on death row.
Yeah. She changed her name, her appearance, always looking over her shoulder, convinced he could somehow still get to her, maybe hire someone.
That sounds exhausting, living like that.
Totally. And sadly, she felt she had to cut ties with Lori and even Gary's family. She had this misconception, this guilt, that they blamed her for Gary being in prison, that she'd ruined their lives, ruined the marriage.
Wow, carrying that misplaced guilt on top of everything else, that's heartbreaking. Trauma really does distort your perception of things.
It really does. She felt like she'd lost herself for years because of that fear and isolation.
So how did she ever start to heal from that?
Well, it took a long, long time. But then something unexpected happened in 2023, 27 years later.
What was that?
Brooke, now a mother herself, was finally ready to talk about her past more publicly. She was doing an interview, sharing her story.
That's a huge step.
Huge. And during that process, she found out that Lori Simmons, Gary's ex-wife, had actually reached out. Lori wanted to meet her.
Wow. After all that time, how did Brooke react?
Apprehensive, naturally. I mean, who wouldn't be? But also maybe curious, hopeful for some kind of closure. She agreed to meet Lori.
That must have been an incredibly intense meeting.
Incredibly emotional. Lori apparently just expressed this profound gratitude to Brooke. She called Brooke her hero.
Her hero. Why?
Lori explained that Brooke's escape, her bravery in getting away and going to the police, is what finally exposed Gary and saved Lori and her children from potentially even more harm. She said she'd thank God for Brooke every single day since 1996.
Oh my goodness, to hear that after carrying so much guilt.
It was overwhelming for Brooke. All those years thinking she was somehow responsible, and here was Lori telling her she was a savior. It was this massive release, this validation she desperately needed.
What an amazing, unexpected connection. That shared trauma, but viewed from such different perspectives, finally meeting.
It was transformative for Brooke. That meeting really seemed to shift something fundamental inside her.
How so?
She realized she wasn't defined by what happened to her. She wasn't just a victim. She was a survivor. She started reclaiming her identity. She even said powerfully, "I am Brooke Weber, period. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor, and we're going to make it through it."
That's incredible. Finding her voice, her strength, owning her survival.
Absolutely. So when you look back at this whole horrific story, the key takeaways are pretty stark, aren't they?
Definitely. You've got Brooke's unbelievable resilience, just sheer will to live.
Then Lori's own nightmare, years of abuse hidden behind closed doors.
Timothy's betrayal, the brother who should have protected his sister getting drawn in.
And just the devastating ripple effect of Gary's violence on so many lives.
But then, against all that darkness, you have that final, unexpected moment of connection and healing between Brooke and Lori decades later. It shows that hope can exist even after the worst imaginable things.
It really does. But it still leaves you with questions, you know?
For sure. Like, what makes someone like Gary Simmons tick? What drives that level of depravity?
And how do you even begin to rebuild your life after surviving something like that, living with that fear for so long?
Yeah. And what role do support systems or even these surprising connections like the one with Lori play in actually finding a way to heal?
It's complex. Ultimately, I think this deep dive really hammers home the power of survival. Brook's story is terrifying, but her strength is inspiring.
It is. And it shows that even in the face of absolute darkness, understanding, and maybe even some form of peace can eventually emerge, often in ways you'd never expect.
A really powerful reminder of the complexities of victimhood survival and that long, hard road toward healing. Makes you think. And today we're looking at a case many of you might know, the disappearance of Christie Wilson, and importantly, the incredible fight her mother, Debbie Boyd, put up.
And our mission here is really to unpack what happened to Christie, how the whole investigation played out, and just the sheer determination of her mom trying to get justice. It's quite a story. Some unexpected stuff in there.
Definitely sounds like it. So let's start with Christie herself. She was 27 years old. And here's something that jumped out. She was apparently a really skilled blackjack player.
Yeah, at Thunder Valley Casino. And we're not talking small time. The source says she could actually count cards and sometimes win like $5,000 in a single night.
Wow. That's serious skill.
It really is. And it tells you something about her, doesn't it? Sharp mind, analytical, paints a picture of someone pretty capable, maybe not someone you'd immediately think of as, well, vulnerable in that setting.
Right. Okay, so the date is October 4th, 2005. And Christie was actually kind of on the edge of a big change.
Yeah, she had a job interview lined up in San Francisco, was planning to move. This trip to the casino, it was supposed to be her last one before heading off.
And that same day, she had a totally normal phone call with her mom, Debbie, just chatting about like Halloween, her cat's costume, the upcoming interview, everyday stuff.
That part really hits home, you know. She had plans, a future she was excited about, and then you have these completely ordinary moments talking about a cat costume.
Yeah.
And it just highlights how suddenly things can change. Such a stark contrast to what happened next.
So later that night, around 10:30, Christie calls her ex-boyfriend from the casino. Says she's about to leave.
But she never gets home.
Never gets home. And the next day, he's calling her, trying to reach her. The source mentions 72 calls.
72? That screams something is wrong immediately.
Absolutely. That's not just someone being unreachable. That's panic setting in.
For sure. It shows how sudden it was. Not a gradual thing, just silence. Alarming silence.
So then we get to her mother, Debbie. It's October 6th, 2 days later, when she and her husband get the call.
And the police response initially? Well, there's some hesitation. Christie was an adult, and apparently she'd been going through a tough time, some depression. The source used the phrase vicious downward spiral.
So the police are maybe thinking she just took off.
Possibly. That initial thought might have been there. But Debbie, no way. She knew her daughter.
Right. That's what stands out, Debbie's gut feeling. She was completely certain Christie wouldn't just leave. Not without her cat, her packed luggage, her medication.
That mother's intuition, knowing her child wouldn't abandon those things, it turned out to be so crucial right from the start.
And her instinct wasn't wrong. Police eventually reviewed the casino surveillance, and sure enough, they see Christie arrive. She's playing blackjack, winning, like you said.
But then they see this guy, described as a short, stocky man with black hair. He's watching her first, from the slots area.
Okay.
Then he comes over, joins her table, later identified, of course, as 53-year-old Mario Garcia.
And this is where things start to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, really disturbing, because Christie's whole demeanor changes after Garcia shows up. Casino staff noticed it, even her stepfather, Patrick Boyd, who was actually a police sergeant himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said she started acting completely out of character, disoriented, and she started losing money, which was unusual for her. Her stepdad just had this gut feeling, you know? Something's really majorly wrong.
You trust that instinct, especially from another cop.
Absolutely. And the footage backs it up. Garcia's seen touching her, wrapping his arms around her, leaning in way too close. Ugh.
And you can see Christie pushing him away, clearly uncomfortable.
So what happens then? She called her ex saying she was leaving.
Right. She leaves the table, makes that call, says she's leaving, but then she comes back.
She goes back to the table. Why?
That's the question, isn't it? And she seems increasingly intoxicated.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The report says she'd only had one drink offered by Garcia.
Only one. That doesn't sound right. That raises a huge red flag.
Exactly. It hints that maybe something else was going on, something more sinister than just drinks.
Okay, so things are clearly escalating.
Mm-hmm. There's some kind of argument with a dealer, security gets involved, and then Garcia insists he should escort her out. And this is the really chilling part on the tape. You see him grab her as she tries to pull away from him.
So she's resisting.
Clearly. And then they both just disappear from the camera's view. Into this area, the investigators later called the black hole.
The black hole, meaning no cameras covered that spot. Precisely. That crucial moment, whatever happened next, it's lost. No visual record. Shows how, even with surveillance, there can be these critical gaps.
So how did they ID Garcia then?
Through the casino systems, his player's card, his slot machine use. They tracked him down that way.
And Debbie's reaction when they told her his name?
Fierce. Just fierce. The source quotes her, "I want my daughter back, and I want her back now. I may be 5'1" and blonde, but they've just met a barracuda, and the fight's on."
Wow. That says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. That's the moment it shifts. It's not just searching anymore. It's confrontation. It's that mother's love turning into this relentless drive for justice.
But Garcia, initially, he didn't seem like the type, right?
Not on the surface, no. Looked like a regular guy. Married, kids, coached soccer, owned a ranch. His family was adamant he was innocent.
And his record was clean.
Almost. Just one minor misdemeanor from way back in the 80s. That was it, initially.
So just a normal-seeming guy. Which is often how it is, I guess.
Exactly. That veneer of normalcy can hide a lot, and it shows how people close to someone can be completely blind to a darker side.
But that misdemeanor, that turned out to be the key, didn't it?
It blew the whole thing open. Investigators tracked down the victim from that case, a woman named Wendy Ward. And her story, it was horrifying.
What did she say?
She described this pattern of violence. They dated, and she said Garcia sexually assaulted her, kidnapped her, threatened her, just awful things.
Oh, my God.
And there was this detail about him making a sandwich right after the assault. Just chillingly callous.
That's disturbing on another level.
It really is. And incredibly, the original felony charges against him for what happened to Wendy, they got reduced.
Reduced after all that.
Yep. And Wendy said she was terrified he'd do it again, hurt someone else.
Which tragically.
It seems he did.
Yeah.
Wendy's testimony was absolutely crucial. It showed this hidden history of violence. And the fact those earlier charges were reduced, it's a pretty stark look at how the system sometimes misses the mark, you know?
Yeah. And then Wendy told him about someone else, right? Lynette Smith.
Yes. Another layer to this. Lynette was Garcia's next girlfriend after Wendy. She was pregnant, and she was planning to leave him.
Oh, no. Let me guess. Something happened to her.
A very suspicious car accident. Christmas Eve, 1979. The car Lynette and her mother were in plunged into the Oakland estuary. Both died.
And Garcia?
He was supposedly in the car, too. Claimed he slept through the entire thing. Didn't even mention Lynette and her mother were with him at first.
Slept through a car plunging into water. Seriously.
That was his story. And unbelievably, no charges were ever filed against him in that case either.
That's staggering. 2 women connected to him die in suspicious circumstances and nothing.
As a whole other deeply disturbing dimension, doesn't it? Even without charges, the questions surrounding that incident are huge. Suggest a long, potentially violent history.
So, okay, back to Christie's case. With Wendy Ward's testimony now, Garcia is arrested.
Right. Finally arrested. But remember, they still don't have direct visual evidence of what happened to Christie in that black hole.
A big hurdle for prosecution. Past behavior is one thing, but linking him directly to this disappearance.
Exactly. It's a major challenge.
But Debbie didn't need more convincing, did she, after hearing Wendy's story?
No. For Debbie, that sealed it. Wendy's horrific experience confirmed her own gut feeling. She knew Garcia was responsible.
So when the detectives actually interviewed Garcia, what did they find?
Well, physically, they noticed things. Fresh cuts, scratches on his face and neck, a bruised eye.
Injuries, suggesting a struggle.
That's what they thought. Plus, his coworkers said he acted really strangely at work the day after Christie went missing. Very unusual behavior.
Did he have an explanation for the injuries?
He tried. But then came a key piece of testimony from an ER doctor. This doctor had actually seen both Garcia and Christie at the casino the night she disappeared.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the doctor testified Garcia had no visible injuries at that time. Completely contradicted Garcia's story about when he got them.
That's huge. It pins the injuries to that specific time frame.
Really started to take apart his attempts to explain things away. strongly suggested a fight had happened.
So they started looking closer at that parking lot, the black hole.
Right, focused on that gap in surveillance. And Garcia's car, his Toyota Camry, had this weird feature. Its lights flashed when doors were opened, like a specific sequence.
Okay.
So another camera, not aimed directly there but catching the edge, recorded the flashes from his car. Over a 3-minute period, the lights flashed in a way that indicated all 4 doors were open.
All 4 doors for 3 minutes. What does that suggest?
Well, it doesn't look good, does it? It suggests activity, something happening involving the whole car, maybe moving something or someone, and it happened right in that blind spot.
And then he drove off.
In the opposite direction of his home, which again, didn't match his story about where he was going, undermined his alibi further.
So, circumstantial, yes, but it's painting a pretty damning picture.
Very compelling. The door flashes, driving the wrong way. It strongly implies he was doing something in that blind spot he didn't want seen.
Which leads to a really bold move by the prosecution.
Yeah, a landmark decision, really.
Yeah.
They decided to take him to trial without Christie's body. First time in North Sacramento legal history.
Wow. That's a massive risk. Relying entirely on circumstantial evidence. For anyone listening, that's evidence that suggests something is true but doesn't directly prove it. Like puzzle pieces.
Exactly. It showed how strongly they believed in the evidence they did have. They felt the pattern, the connections were enough for a jury to see the truth.
The trial starts September 2006, just over a year after she vanished. And Wendy Ward was there.
She was, right there supporting Debbie and her family, which is just incredibly courageous considering her own trauma.
Absolutely.
They're
Shows real solidarity.
Powerful stuff.
So what was the key evidence presented at the trial?
Well, the CCTV footage, obviously, but also Garcia's internet searches. In the days after Christie disappeared, he was searching online for date rape drugs.
Oh my God, after she disappeared.
Yes. And then the physical evidence, Christie's DNA, they found her hair and even microscopic specks of her blood inside Garcia's car.
Even though he cleaned it.
Meticulously cleaned it, apparently. But forensics found those traces. A direct link between him and Christie inside his car after she was last seen. Crucial piece.
And then there was the link between his injuries and Christie herself.
Right. This is striking. Christie had done kickboxing, and her stepdad, the cop, had taught her self-defense, aim for the eyes. And even this unusual tactic of faking having an STD to deter an attacker.
Really?
Yeah. And the source mentions that a previous abusive ex-boyfriend of Christie's had documented injuries, including similar claw marks after a fight with her.
So the implication is the scratches on Garcia were from Christie fighting back.
That's exactly what the prosecution argued, that she fought him. Those marks on his face and neck were potentially her defending herself, just like she'd done before, a testament to her resistance.
Wow. Okay, so the jury hears all this.
They deliberate, and then the verdict comes back. Guilty. Mario Flavio Garcia, guilty.
How did Debbie react?
Relief, of course, but also deep sadness. She called it a shallow, hollow victory because Christie was still gone.
Yeah.
Her first words were reportedly a plea directly to Garcia. Now, Mario Garcia, where did you put my daughter? Just heartbreaking.
Still no closure on that front.
Not yet. Accountability, yes, but not the closure of knowing where Christie was.
And the sentence.
He got 59 years, a long sentence, partly because the judge could consider the details of what he did to Wendy Ward.
And Garcia's reaction. Remorse.
Absolutely none, according to the source.
Oh.
Showed no remorse at all. Debbie gave a very powerful victim impact statement, though.
I can only imagine. But the fight wasn't over for the Boyds, was it?
No, tragically. Years of fighting his appeals. And then something really disturbing happened in 2017.
What was that?
Garcia started writing letters to Debbie from prison, hinting he might give information about where Christie's body was, maybe in exchange for something.
Oh, that's cool. Using her daughter's remains as a bargaining chip.
Exactly. Debbie was faced with this horrible conflict. What do you do? But ultimately, she refused. She wouldn't let him manipulate her like that.
Incredible strength.
Truly. Just refused to be victimized by him again.
But then, years later, a breakthrough.
Yes. Detectives reopened the case, started re-interviewing Garcia's family. And his son, Chris, remembered something.
What did he remember?
The day after Christie vanished, he remembered his dad acting really weird. Frantic, disheveled, working on his tractor way out on their property, far from the house. And he missed Chris's big soccer game, which was totally unlike him.
A specific memory? A specific location?
Exactly. That memory from Chris, his father's strange behavior in that particular spot, that was the key they needed.
So they went back to the property.
Mm-hmm. with ground-penetrating radar focusing on the area Chris mentioned. And they found something about 20 feet down.
20 feet. Wow. What was it?
Bones, confirmed by an archaeologist as human remains.
Christie.
It was Christie, after 15 years. And the remains, they showed she had a broken hand, a broken nose.
Confirming she fought back, just like the evidence suggested.
Tragically, yes. Confirmation of her resistance. You can imagine the emotion for those detectives who'd worked the case for so long.
15 years. That's incredible dedication. And then they had to tell Debbie and Patrick.
Yeah, the hardest conversation. But mixed with the grief, there was finally this sense of bringing her home. They were so grateful to the detectives.
Finally, some measure of peace, maybe.
A measure, yes.
Yeah.
On the anniversary of her disappearance, Christie was cremated. Debbie could finally lay her daughter to rest. She talked about just cherishing the 27 years she had with her.
And there was something shared at her memorial.
Yeah, really poignant. Her best friend Tiffany shared these words Christie had actually given her about a year before she died. And listening to them then, it felt like Christie's own eulogy.
What did it say?
It was about her spirit enduring, about the hope of meeting again in heaven.
Yeah.
Just incredibly moving, especially given everything.
What a powerful, heartbreaking end to that part of the story.
It really is.
So just to kind of wrap up this deep dive, it's this story of Christie's tragic disappearance, but also this incredible decades-long fight for justice by her mother, Debbie.
Yeah, and how crucial circumstantial evidence was, and even Christie's own resistance in getting that conviction without a body initially, and then finally finding her after 15 years.
The big themes here really feel like that unwavering mother's love, the persistence of the investigators.
Definitely. And just the devastating, long-lasting impact of violence.
So as you listening think about this, consider that power of a mother's intuition, the sheer difficulty of getting justice when someone is missing, presumed dead. But there's no body.
Right, and think about Christie, the life she might have had, the potential cut short. What does this whole story tell us about, well, the nature of evil maybe, but also about the incredible resilience of people like Debbie Boyd in the face of just unimaginable loss?
In the quiet landscapes of Greenville County, South Carolina, a chilling tale of love, betrayal, and unspeakable violence unfolded, leaving two families shattered and a community grappling with the depths of human cruelty. This is the story of Clarissa Winchester, a young woman with a heart of gold, her unborn son Grayson, and the dark shadow cast by the man who should have cherished them. It's a story that intertwines with the haunting disappearance of another young woman, Jordan Nebling, painting a grim picture of a man seemingly consumed by violence. Our timeline begins in October 2020 with the sudden and unsettling disappearance of 19-year-old Jordan Nebling. Jordan, described by her stepmother Mary Tucker as someone who didn't have an enemy in the world, vanished without a trace after last being seen with her ex-boyfriend Tyler Wilkins. Her car was found broken down in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, adding to the growing unease surrounding her whereabouts. Tyler Wilkins, then in his early 20s, became an immediate person of interest in Jordan's disappearance. Investigators served a search warrant on his residence in October 2021, hoping to uncover clues that might lead them to Jordan. While Jordan was not found, the search yielded illegal drugs and a shotgun, resulting in Wilkins' arrest on charges of drug possession and receiving stolen goods. He was subsequently released on bond, a decision that would later be viewed with profound regret. Fast forward to the fall of 2022. Clarissa Winchester, a vibrant 22-year-old woman, was 7 months pregnant with her first child, a son she had already lovingly named Grayson. Those who knew Clarissa described her as someone who seen the good in everybody and would go out of her way to help people, anybody in need. She was a beacon of kindness, a light that tragically would soon be extinguished. Disturbingly, Tyler Wilkins, Clarissa's boyfriend and the father of baby Grayson, had a documented history of violence, and Clarissa herself had been a victim. In December 2021, just months before her death, Wilkins reportedly fired shots at Clarissa and her father. This led to a string of serious charges, including attempted murder, high-intensity domestic violence, and weapons offenses. Yet, despite this alarming incident, Wilkins was granted bail in January 2022, with conditions including a firearm restriction and a no-contact order with Clarissa. an order that would ultimately fail to protect her. Adding to this troubling pattern, Wilkins was arrested again in June 2022 for pointing a firearm at another individual, but was once again released. The fateful day was November 9th, 2022. Clarissa's parents, Michael and Melinda Winchester, grew increasingly worried when they couldn't reach their daughter. Their concern led them to the residence of Michael and Melissa Burnett, Tyler Wilkins' aunt and uncle, located on Sawmill Road in Marietta, South Carolina. What they encountered there was a scene of unimaginable horror. Inside the Burnett's home, Clarissa Winchester and her newborn son, Grayson, were found deceased. The 911 call, initiated by Clarissa's distraught parents, brought authorities to a scene that would shock even seasoned investigators. The subsequent investigation revealed a brutal and prolonged assault. Tyler Wilkins, in a horrifying act of violence, had allegedly beaten Clarissa for approximately 2 agonizing hours, inflicting fatal injuries to her head and neck. Clarissa, 7 months pregnant, would never get to hold her son in her arms. Baby Grayson's lifeless body was found alongside his mother. While the exact circumstances of his death remained initially unclear, whether he was stillborn due to the trauma his mother endured or died during the attack, the fact remained that 2 innocent lives had been tragically lost. Wilkins was charged with unlawful conduct toward a child for allegedly failing to seek medical attention for his newborn son. Later, medical examination revealed the heartbreaking truth. Grayson had never taken a breath. Adding a deeply disturbing layer to this tragedy was the alleged inaction of Michael and Melissa Burnett. According to authorities, the Burnetts were present inside the home during the entire brutal assault. Despite Clarissa's desperate screams for help, which reportedly echoed through the house for 2 long hours, they did nothing. They failed to intervene, failed to call 911, and failed to offer any assistance whatsoever. Their alleged indifference to Clarissa's pleas for her life led to their arrest and charges of misprision of a felony, essentially neglecting their duty to report a crime they knew was occurring. They were later released on a $20,000 bond each, a decision that undoubtedly added to the pain and frustration of Clarissa's family. Tyler Wilkins was apprehended the day after the discovery on November 10, 2022. He faced a slew of charges: murder, kidnapping, and unlawful neglect of a child. Initially denied bond, the weight of the evidence against him was undeniable. In a courtroom filled with grief and a desperate yearning for justice, Tyler Wilkins eventually pleaded guilty to murder, assault, and battery, and pointing and presenting a weapon. He was sentenced to a total of 60 years in prison, 45 years for the murder of Clarissa, 10 years for assault and battery, and 5 years for the weapons charge. The loss for Clarissa's family was immeasurable. Her father, Michael Winchester, delivered a heart-wrenching plea in court, his words echoing the devastation of a family torn apart. They not only lost their beloved daughter, but also the chance to welcome their grandson into the world. Their powerful statement, "Clarissa's voice is going to still be heard, and we ain't going to stop fighting," underscored their unwavering commitment to ensuring Clarissa and Grayson's lives were not forgotten. Another poignant quote from the family echoed their profound grief. "Not only did he take our daughter away from us, he also took our chance to be grandparents, uncles, and aunts." But the story doesn't end there. The investigation into Clarissa and Grayson's tragic deaths reignited interest in the cold case of Jordan Nebling's disappearance. Mary Tucker, Jordan's stepmother, had long harbored suspicions about Tyler Wilkins' involvement, stating with a mother's intuition, "In my heart, I think he did something to her." Initial searches of Wilkins' property in 2021, while yielding drug charges, had failed to provide concrete evidence linking him to Jordan's disappearance. Years passed, with Jordan's fate remaining a haunting unknown. Then, while serving his prison sentence for Clarissa's murder, a chilling development occurred. Tyler Wilkins allegedly confessed to the unthinkable. He claimed he had stabbed Jordan Nebling to death back in October 2020. This alleged confession sent shockwaves through the community and offered a potential, albeit horrifying, answer to the years-long mystery of Jordan's whereabouts. Based on this alleged confession, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office has now charged Tyler Wilkins with the murder of Jordan Nebling and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. While he is already serving a lengthy sentence for Clarissa's murder, these new charges mean that Jordan's family may finally see some semblance of justice for their lost loved one. Sheriff Hobart Lewis has emphasized the continued pursuit of justice in the Nebling case, a testament to the enduring commitment to finding answers no matter how long it takes. The intertwined cases of Clarissa Winchester and Jordan Nebling serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the potential for repeated violent behavior. Wilkins' extensive prior history, including charges of attempted murder against Clarissa, should have served as glaring red flags. This case also raises critical questions about the responsibility of bystanders to intervene in violent situations and the legal ramifications of failing to do so. The alleged inaction of the Burnetts highlights a disturbing aspect of human behavior, the tendency to turn a blind eye even in the face of extreme suffering. It's worth noting a minor discrepancy in the reporting, with some sources stating Clarissa was 6 months pregnant while others say 7. While seemingly a small detail, it underscores the importance of precise information in such tragic cases. Furthermore, while Wilkins has been charged in connection with Grayson's death for failing to seek medical attention, the full circumstances surrounding the baby's passing remain somewhat unclear in the public record, leaving open the possibility of further investigation or future legal action. The stories of Clarissa Winchester and Jordan Nebling are heartbreaking testaments to the fragility of life and the profound impact of violence. Clarissa, remembered for her kindness and compassion, and Jordan, a young woman whose life was tragically cut short, will forever be missed by their families and friends. While justice has been served in Clarissa's case, the legal proceedings in Jordan's murder are ongoing, a testament to the enduring pursuit of accountability. May their stories serve as a somber reminder of the importance of recognizing and addressing domestic violence and the need for compassion and intervention to protect the vulnerable among us. Their voices, as Clarissa's family so eloquently stated, must continue to be heard.
Okay, so you've sent over quite a bit of material for us to dig into this time, and it's heavy.
It really is. We're looking at the tragic deaths of Clarissa Winchester and her unborn son, Grayson, down in Greenville County, South Carolina.
Yeah, and everything that happened afterwards, the legal side of things, it's a lot.
Definitely. And the sources paint a grim picture. We've got news articles, Daily Beast, Law and Crime, People, Toronto Sun, the usual suspects. Plus video news transcripts from WSPA 7 News and FOX Carolina News, which give that sort of on-the-ground feel.
Right, and some YouTube analysis, too. Justice and Injustice, Kimberly Flower.
Exactly. And then the obituary from the funeral home, which is just heartbreaking, and some initial reporting from Odd Murders and Mysteries. So quite a mix.
So the plan here is to, try and piece together what happened, the sequence of events, the charges, how the family reacted.
And maybe touch on the bigger questions this whole thing raises. But carefully, obviously. It's incredibly sensitive stuff.
Absolutely. Let's start with the initial crime, November 9th, 2022. What happened then?
So that's when Greenville County deputies got a missing person call. For Clarissa Winchester, she was 22.
Okay.
She was last seen, or known to be, at a house on Sawmill Road. It belonged to relatives of her boyfriend, Tyler Wilkins.
And when the deputies got there...
That's when they found them. Clarissa and her newborn son, Grayson, both deceased.
Oh, gosh. Newborn, she gave birth?
During the assault, it seems. She was 7 months pregnant. The medical examiner ruled Clarissa's death a homicide blunt force trauma, head and neck.
In the baby, Grayson.
His cause of death wasn't immediately clear, apparently. Not right away.
And Tyler Wilkins, the boyfriend, father of the baby.
He was arrested basically right then and there, same day, November 9th.
The charges must have been immediate and serious.
Oh, yeah. Murder for Clarissa, kidnapping, and unlawful neglect of a child.
For Grayson, because he was born in...
Allegedly, for failing to get medical attention for Grayson after he was born during the attack. Bond was denied. Straight up.
And this all happened at his relative's house.
His aunt and uncle's place, yeah. Michael and Melissa Burnett, ages 43 and 49.
Were they? Were they there?
That's the really disturbing part, yes. They were reportedly in the home during the whole thing. The assault apparently lasted about 2 hours.
2 hours. And they were in their house.
In the house. And reports say they heard Clarissa yell and beg for help for 2 hours.
And they didn't.
Didn't intervene, didn't call 911, didn't offer any help at all based on the reports.
You didn't even process that. Hearing someone begging for help for that long?
It's, yeah. It led to their own arrests later on November 26.
What were they charged with?
Misattrition of a felony, which basically is failing to report a known felony crime.
Okay. Is that common?
It's not unheard of, but it's a specific charge. You have to know a felony was committed and take steps to conceal it or fail to report it.
And they got out on bond?
Yeah, they were released after posting bond, $20,000 each.
Still, the idea of just listening, it's chilling. Raises questions about, what responsibility we have as bystanders.
Absolutely. It's a tough ethical line, isn't it? Between self-preservation, maybe fear, and the moral imperative to help someone in dire need, especially for 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to Tyler Wilkins' case. What happened with him legally?
Well, he didn't go to trial. He eventually pleaded guilty.
To what exactly?
To Clarissa's murder, and also assault and battery and pointing and presenting a weapon.
And the sentence?
He got 45 years in prison for the murder charge.
45 years?
Yeah. He also got 10 years for the assault and battery and 5 for the weapon charge, but those run concurrently.
So effectively 45 years total time served.
Pretty much, yeah. The 45 is the main sentence.
Did he say anything? Or his lawyers?
His lawyers brought up his mental health struggles, addiction issues, said he'd gotten sober and was remorseful.
And Wilkins himself?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That was apparently it.
Doesn't feel like much, does it? Especially for the family.
No. Clarissa's parents, Michael and Melinda Winchester, their statements were just heart-wrenching, understandably devastated.
What did they say?
They talked about Clarissa being huge-hearted, kind. They were in court, saw the whole thing, and they were very clear. 45 years. Not enough.
Yeah, I can imagine taking their daughter, their grandchild.
Exactly.
Huh.
They said he robbed them of the chance to be grandparents, to see Clarissa raise Grayson. Michael Winchester, her dad, he spoke really emotionally. He talked about those 2 hours she suffered, compared it to the plea hearing, which was less than half an hour. That contrast.
God, that's powerful.
And he talked about spending hours at her grave just asking, why? What could she possibly have done to deserve, as he put it, such uncivilized punishment?
Just unimaginable pain. They'd already named the baby Grayson, too.
Yeah, they had. All those plans, hopes, just gone. But they also talked about celebrating her life, cherishing her memory, trying to find strength somehow.
It's incredible resilience. But this story, it gets even darker, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There was another woman.
Yes. That's the other deeply disturbing layer here. The disappearance of Jordan Nebling.
Wilkins' ex-girlfriend.
His ex, yeah. She went missing way back in October 2020.
How did that happen? What were the circumstances?
Her car broke down. Wilkins apparently picked her up. His story was they argued, and she just walked off from his house.
But her family didn't buy that.
Not at all. Her stepmother, Mary Tucker, was adamant. She believed Wilkins was involved from the start, pointed to his history of being abusive.
Did the police look into him back then?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely a person of interest. They searched his property. Mary Tucker mentioned they even dug up a concrete pad there.
But no charges were filed at the time.
No. Lack of concrete evidence, they said. Enough suspicion to investigate, but not enough to charge him with her disappearance or anything worse back in 2020 or 2021.
Until much later.
Right. Fast forward quite a bit to April 2025. That's when the news broke.
What news?
Reports emerged that Wilkins had allegedly confessed.
Confessed? To what?
To killing Jordan Nebling back in 2020. Stabbing him to death.
Oh my God. So after he was already sentenced for Clarissa.
Seems so. Based on the timeline of the reports, this alleged confession led to new charges against him, murder for Jordan, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime.
So this wasn't some sudden snap with Clarissa. There was a pattern, a history.
It certainly looks that way. And sadly, there were other red flags even before Clarissa's murder. Wilkins had a prior criminal history involving violence.
What kind of history?
Well, back in December 2021, so less than a year before Clarissa's death, he was arrested on some really serious charges.
Like what?
Attempted murder, high-intensity domestic violence, drug possession, weapon possession during a violent crime, endangering an official, even throwing bodily fluids.
Attempted murder. Against who?
The reports say that incident involved Clarissa and her father.
It involved Clarissa, and he still got out.
He was released on bond in January 2022. despite those charges.
That's unbelievable. Were there conditions?
Yeah, a firearm restriction and a no-contact order specifically naming Clarissa.
Which he obviously violated.
Tragically, yes. And then he was arrested again in June 2022,
For what?
pointing a firearm at someone, and he was released again after that arrest, too.
So multiple arrests, serious charges involving violence, involving Clarissa specifically, violating a no-contact order, and he was still out there.
It paints a really concerning picture, doesn't it? It makes you question how the system handled those prior incidents, those warnings.
Yeah, it really does. You wonder if things could have been different, if those flags were taken seriously enough.
It highlights the incredible challenge, I think, in dealing with escalating domestic violence and predicting, preventing the absolute worst outcome. The system isn't perfect, clearly.
No, this whole case is just devastating. Profound loss for Clarissa and Grayson, their family.
Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And it leaves you thinking about so many things.
Like the Burnett's in action.
Yeah.
Bystander responsibility.
Right. And the cycle of violence, Wilkins's history, Jordan Nebling, Clarissa. It's a terrible pattern. And the ripple effects, the trauma for everyone left behind.
Yeah. It makes you ask, what does justice even mean here? You have the 45-year sentence, now these new charges for Jordan, but it doesn't bring anyone back.
No, it doesn't. Perhaps the most crucial thing is recognizing these patterns of violence earlier, addressing them somehow before they escalate like this.
It's a vital point. We really encourage everyone listening to just sit with this information, maybe look into resources on domestic violence awareness and prevention. It's something we all need to be more aware of.
Definitely. A very difficult case, but an important one to understand.
Welcome to TDS, the dark stories. This is where we don't just tell true crime stories. We uncover the fear, the grief, and the chilling questions left in their wake. Today's story isn't from decades ago. It's not buried in old files. It happened in the quiet town of Moscow, Idaho. Just in 2022, 4 vibrant young lives were taken, in their own home, while the world slept. Let's dive into the details and listen closely. It was a cold November morning, November 13th, 2022. Students at the University of Idaho were wrapping up their weekend. Finals loomed. Thanksgiving was near. But on King Road, inside a modest off-campus house, horror was unfolding. 4 students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Zana Knodel, and Ethan Chapin, were murdered in the early hours of the morning. They were asleep, peaceful, until they weren't. The attacker used a fixed-blade knife. No one heard a thing, except, perhaps, one of the surviving roommates, who later said she saw a masked figure pass silently through the house. A figure with bushy eyebrows, walking calmly toward the back door. The killer left behind no obvious trace, except for one small but crucial mistake. A tan leather knife sheath, found next to Madison's bed. Inside that sheath, DNA. As investigators combed through hours of surveillance, cell tower data, and tip line calls, one thing kept showing up: a white Hyundai Elantra, seen circling the area near the crime scene. That vehicle? It belonged to Bryan Kohberger. He was no stranger to crime, at least not academically. A PhD criminology student at nearby Washington State University, just 8 miles from the victim's home. He studied killers. Now he was becoming one. Phone data placed him near the house 12 times in the weeks leading up to the murders, always late at night or early in the morning. And on the day of the crime, his phone went dark, completely off the network, during the time of the murders. But perhaps the most chilling part. After the murders, Kohberger returned to the crime scene around 9 a.m., almost like he couldn't help himself. Investigators retrieved DNA from the trash at his family's home in Pennsylvania. It matched the DNA on the knife sheath, 99% match to Kohberger's father. That was enough. On December 30th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was arrested. He has pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. The trial is set for August 2025 and will now be held in Boise. To this day, many questions remain. Why those victims? Was he stalking them? Did he know them? Was it a twisted fantasy fulfilled? Or is the story even darker than we realize?
Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into a case that I think is still very much on people's minds.
Definitely.
The Idaho student stabbings back in November 2022. It's a really heavy topic, and there's just so much information out there.
There really is. It was such a disturbing event. And yeah, trying to sort through everything can be, well, overwhelming.
Right. So our aim today is to kind of focus things a bit, look at the core details that have emerged from the investigation so far.
Exactly. We want to hit the foundational stuff.
We've pulled from a few places for this. Obviously, key parts of the Brett Payne affidavit. That's where investigators lay out their findings.
For crucial document, that one.
Yeah. And also some summaries, like from Wikipedia, news reports, People, Fox 13, Seattle, Northeastern Global News had pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And even a Reddit thread we looked at where people were discussing, potential defense strategies.
So a real mix of sources.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is to pull out the most, let's say, vital information.
Yeah, exactly. The timeline of that night, the main evidence presented, and maybe some informed thoughts on where the defense might go with this.
We're trying to get a clearer picture. Not necessarily every single tiny detail, but the stuff that really seems to matter as this moves forward.
Okay, let's start with the timeline then. November 12th into the 13th, 2022. What investigators have pieced together?
Right. So based on the affidavit and reports, you have Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogan. They were out on Saturday night, November 12th.
At the Corner Club, right. Local bar.
Yep. From about 10 p.m. until roughly 1:30 a.m. on Sunday the 13th.
And then they hit the grub truck, the food truck.
That's right. Around 1:41 a.m., there's actually video from the truck's Twitch stream showing them there.
Wow.
After that, private party gave them a ride home. They got back to the King Road house around 1:56 a.m.
Okay, and then Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, they were out too.
Yeah, they were at a party on campus, Sigma Chi fraternity. They got back to the house a bit earlier, around 1:45 a.m.
So the surviving roommates told police all 4 victims were home by 2:00 a.m.
Correct.
But the night wasn't over. There were those phone calls Kaylee made.
Right. Between 2:26 and 2:52 a.m., Kaylee made several calls to her ex-boyfriend. They went unanswered.
And Madison Mogan did too, to the same person?
Yes, between 2:44 and 2:52 a.m., also unanswered. Important to say, though, police looked into this.
And cleared him, right?
Yes, they determined he wasn't involved.
Okay.
Then later, around 4 a.m., there's a DoorDash delivery.
For Xana Kernodle, yeah.
Yeah.
The driver confirmed this with investigators.
And this is where things get really, really difficult, the timeline inside the house.
Yeah. One of the surviving roommates, DM, she reported waking up around 4 a.m.
What did she hear?
Initially, she thought it was Kaylee playing with her dog. Kaylee and Madison's rooms were upstairs on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
But then shortly after, DM said she heard someone who she thought was Kaylee say, "There's someone here."
But there's a detail about Xana's phone. Right. A forensic download showed Xana Kernodle was using TikTok around 4:12 a.m. So it's possible she was the one who said that. We don't know for sure.
Okay, so DM hears this. Does she look?
She looked at her bedroom door, didn't see anything the first time.
Then she heard more.
Yeah, she opened her door again later because she heard what sounded like crying from Xana's room.
Oh, man.
And then she heard a male voice say something like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
And there was audio captured nearby, too.
Yes, around 4:17 a.m., a security camera at a neighbor's house, like less than 50 feet away from Xana's room.
What did it pick up?
It recorded distorted audio, sounds described as whimpering, a loud thud, and then a dog barking repeatedly.
Okay, so DM opens her door a 3rd time.
And this time, she sees someone.
This is a huge part of the affidavit.
Absolutely. She describes seeing a figure dressed all in black, wearing a mask covering the mouth and nose.
Any description.
She said male, 5'10" or taller, not super muscular, but athletically built. And she specifically noted bushy eyebrows.
And this person just walked past her.
Walked past her, didn't engage, and then exited the house through the back sliding glass door.
What did DM do then?
She said she was in a frozen shock phase. Eventually, she locked herself in her room.
And then later that morning, the discovery.
Yes. The 4 victims were found, stabbed to death, in their beds on the 2nd and 3rd floors.
The 911 call, though, wasn't until much, much later.
Not until 11:58 a.m., almost noon. It came from one of the surviving roommates' phones. The call reported an unconscious person.
When police got there, what did they find initially?
They said the front door was open, no obvious signs of forced entry, nothing seemed to be missing right away.
And Kaylee's dog?
The dog was found alive inside the house, unharmed.
Just devastating. All 4 pronounced dead at noon. And investigators believe the killings happened in a really short window.
Yeah, they estimate between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m., just a 25-minute time frame.
Such a tight window. Okay, let's shift to the evidence. The key findings from the investigation laid out in that affidavit. What really stands out?
Well, probably the most talked about piece is the knife sheath.
Where was it found?
On the bed, right next to Madison Mogen's body. It was tan leather.
Any markings on it?
Yeah, it had Kabar, USMC, and the Marine Corps Eagle, Globe, and Anchor logo.
And the DNA?
That's the critical part. They found a single source of male DNA on the button snap of that sheath. Investigators say it's the suspect's profile.
That feels like a very direct piece of physical evidence.
It certainly is. And alongside that, you have the video evidence. Investigators did a huge canvass of security footage in the area.
And that led them to the white car.
Exactly. A white Hyundai Elantra, seen on video multiple times near the King Road house between roughly 3:29 a.m. and 4:2 a.m. that morning.
Okay, so the white Elantra becomes a major focus. How did they connect that car to Bryan Kohberger?
It took a couple of weeks, but on November 29th, a police officer at Washington State University, which is just over the border in Pullman, Washington,
Right, not far from Moscow.
ran a query for white Elantras registered at WSU. And it came back with a 2015 white Elantra Pennsylvania plates registered to Bryan Kohberger at an address near campus.
So they had a name and an address. Did they find the car?
Yep. Same day, another WSU officer found that specific Elantra, matching plates and all, in the parking lot of Kohberger's apartment building.
And they found he'd been in Moscow before, in that car.
Yeah, it turns out he'd actually been stopped by Moscow police twice earlier in 2022, August and October, driving that same white Elantra, same PA plates.
And he gave his phone number during one of those stops.
He did. That became important later.
Okay, so they have a suspect, a car linked to him.
Mm-hmm.
What about his movements that night, the cell phone data?
Right, this is another really significant part of the affidavit. They got warrants for cell tower data near the King Road house around the time of the murders.
What did Kohberger's phone records show?
His phone, the one linked to that number he gave police.
Yeah.
It was using cell towers near his apartment in Pullman around 2:42 a.m. on November 13th. Then the phone's activity showed it moving sort of southeast, then south through Pullman. But then at about 2:47 a.m., it just stops reporting to the network.
Stops completely. For how long?
It doesn't ping a tower again until almost 2 hours later, around 4:48 a.m.
And where was it then?
It was connecting to towers south of Moscow, down near a place called Blaine, Idaho.
So there's a gap in the data right around the time investigators think the murders happened.
Exactly. The affidavit suggests this is consistent with the phone either being turned off, put in airplane mode, or maybe being in an area with absolutely no service right then.
Okay, and after it came back online around 4:48 a.m.
Between about 4:50 and 5:26 a.m., the phone's location data is consistent with travel south, down Highway 95 towards Genesee, Idaho, and then heading west back towards Pullman.
So the phone appears to leave the area after the estimated time of the murders.
That's what the data suggests, yes.
Did they find evidence his phone had been near the victim's house before that night?
They did. Investigators found his phone had connected to cell towers, providing service to the King Road area at least 12 times between June 2022 and the night of the murders.
12 times, wow.
Yeah. They also noted it briefly connected to a Moscow tower the day after the murders, November 14th. But they don't think the phone was actually in Moscow that day. And it hasn't connected to any Moscow towers since then.
So the investigators' conclusion in the affidavit is pretty direct about this phone activity.
Yes, they state clearly that they believe his phone activity during those early morning hours, specifically the gap when it wasn't reporting, is consistent with him attempting to conceal his location during the homicides.
Okay, that's a lot of detail from the prosecution side, essentially.
Right.
Let's switch gears. The defense. What might their strategy look like? We saw that Reddit discussion.
Yeah.
What kind of ideas were floating around?
Well, common theme was the idea of tunnel vision.
Meaning?
Arguing that police maybe zeroed in on Kohberger too quickly, potentially missing other leads or suspects. They follow up on everything.
That makes sense as a potential defense angle. What else?
His reported OCD came up. Some speculated the defense might try to use that to explain certain behaviors, like maybe the extensive driving patterns shown by the cell data. Could it be related to compulsive behavior rather than stalking or planning?
Interesting. What about the physical evidence? The sheath?
Oh yeah, definitely expect them to challenge the DNA evidence. How strong is the match, really? Is touch DNA reliable enough on its own? Could it have gotten there some other way, secondary transfer? Was the chain of custody perfect?
So questioning the link between the DNA and him actually being the perpetrator?
Exactly. And also things like the footprints found at the scene reports said they were from common shoes, like Vans, not exactly unique.
And the crime scene itself?
Potential contamination is almost always raised in cases like this. Was the scene secured properly? Could evidence have been compromised?
The house being known as a party house was mentioned too, right?
Yeah, the idea that it wasn't exactly Fort Knox. Lots of people might have come and gone over time. Could someone else have had access or a reason to be there?
And the car. The Elantra.
There was some initial confusion in early reports about the exact model year. The defense might try to exploit any inconsistencies there, suggesting maybe the car scene wasn't definitively his.
Okay, and the cell phone data. How could they counter that?
They'll likely argue it's not precise GPS. Cell tower data gives you a general area, not an exact pinpoint, and they'll emphasize that gap. The phone being off or in airplane mode means you don't know what it was. It doesn't prove he was at the house.
So trying to create doubt about what the data actually shows.
Right. And interestingly, some people in that discussion brought up the surviving roommates.
So?
Just questioning the timeline, the delay in calling 911. Not necessarily accusing them, but maybe using it to muddy the waters or suggest things aren't as clear-cut as the prosecution presents.
It sounds like the overall strategy might be about chipping away at the prosecution's narrative.
Yeah, pretty much. Frame the evidence differently, highlight inconsistencies, introduce alternative possibilities, anything to create that reasonable doubt for the jury.
Makes sense. Okay, let's just quickly cover the legal side. Kohberger was arrested way over in Pennsylvania, end of December 2022.
That's right, December 30th. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, plus 1 count of felony burglary.
And the prosecution is seeking the death penalty.
They are. They've made that clear.
There was a challenge to that from the defense, wasn't there? Based on autism.
Yes, his lawyers argued the death penalty would be cruel and unusual punishment for someone with autism spectrum disorder.
How did that turn out?
The judge denied that request. In Idaho, ASD can be considered a mitigating factor at sentencing, but it doesn't automatically rule out the death penalty.
And Idaho has that unusual situation with the insanity defense, right?
It does. It's one of only 4 states without a traditional insanity defense. You can't plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
So how does mental state play a role then?
It's still relevant for 2 things. Competency to stand trial, basically. Does the defendant understand the charges and can they assist in their defense? Kohberger was found competent.
Okay. And the second thing?
It can be used as a mitigating factor during sentencing if he's convicted. Arguing for a lesser sentence based on mental state.
Got it. And the trial itself isn't happening in Moscow?
No, they got to change of venue. It's scheduled to start August 11th, 2025, down in Boise, Idaho. Judge Stephen Hippler is presiding.
August 2025. Still a ways off. And the house itself, it's gone now.
Yeah, that was kind of controversial, but the King Road house was demolished back in December 2023.
Okay. One last point, forensic genealogy. That played a role here.
It was widely reported, that the DNA from the sheath was linked to Kohberger using familial DNA, specifically DNA recovered from trash discarded by his father.
And the match was strong.
Reports said over 99% probability. It's a powerful technique.
Though some experts questioned if it was absolutely needed here.
Right. Some suggested that given the other evidence, like the car and cell data pointing towards him, maybe traditional investigation would have gotten there anyway. And its general usefulness in all homicides is still debated sometimes.
And there was that detail about Kohberger possibly knowing about trash privacy laws since he was studying criminology.
Yeah, reports mention he might have known discarded trash doesn't have privacy protections, and there were even allegations he tried to hide his family's trash in neighbors' bins before the arrest.
Just adds another layer, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we've walked through that incredibly detailed timeline. We've looked at the key evidence from the affidavit, the sheath, the DNA, the car, the phone data.
And we've considered how the defense might approach things based on some of the discussions out there, trying to counter that evidence.
It really paints a picture of the prosecution building this case piece by piece timeline, forensics, movements.
While the defense is likely gearing up to challenge every single piece, questioning its interpretation, its strength, looking for reasonable doubt.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Looking at all these details, the affidavit, the potential defense angles, What parts of this case really stick out to you or raise the biggest questions?
Yeah, and what does it tell us about building these big cases, especially when you're relying so much on circumstantial stuff and complex forensic evidence like DNA and cell data?
It's definitely a case to keep following as it moves towards that 2025 trial date. And important to remember, we only see a fraction of the full picture right now.
Absolutely. There's likely so much more information that will come out during the trial itself. We'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. Imagine this. January 2016. A dog walker out in Mercer County, Ohio. They stumble upon something just awful.
Yeah, not just trash or, something mundane. Actual human bones.
And specifically, a dismembered spine. Just the spine.
Right. The rest of the person.
Yeah.
Completely missing.
Yeah. Wow. What a truly chilling way to start a year. Hard to even process.
That immediate puzzle is just, it grabs you, doesn't it? A partial skeleton like that throws up so many questions right away.
Like, who was this? How did they end up here?
And the really disturbing one, where are the other body parts?
Exactly.
The cops make horrific discovery in women's soup pot. One, it pulls straight from official police files and even has some footage that hasn't been widely seen.
Okay, so our goal here is to unpack all the critical details, the really surprising, sometimes baffling turns in this investigation. It spanned years.
It really did, and it's more than just a whodunit. It's about understanding the layers, some of which are profoundly disturbing. The way the truth finally crawled out is quite something.
It all traces back to that single spine found in 2016.
Wow.
Then, jump forward 4 years. It's 2020.
Right, and an agent from the Bureau of Criminal Investigation working cold cases finally gets a hit.
A crucial connection. The DNA from those bones. It matches a missing person.
21-year-old Ryan Zimmerman. He'd vanished from Columbus, Ohio, way back in late November 2015. Hadn't been heard from since September, actually.
Think about that gap, those years of just not knowing for his family.
Absolutely. That 2016 discovery, grim as it was maybe the first hint. But it wasn't until 2020 with that DNA match that they could finally put a name to their loss.
And the details they got then, just devastating. Investigators contacted Ryan's father, Warren, confirmed it was his son. But then came the really awful part. This clearly wasn't an accident or natural causes.
No. They had to tell him parts of Ryan's body were missing, his lower legs, lower arms.
And maybe the most disturbing detail, his skull was gone too.
That dismemberment, it screams foul play, a deliberate act.
Definitely. It points away from just, an accident or someone wandering off.
Dismembering a body usually means someone's trying to hide it, make it easier to get rid of, harder to identify.
Right. And finding the skull. Well, that's a whole other part of the story we'll get to, and it's beyond belief, really.
So naturally, the investigation pivots. Who was around Ryan right before he disappeared?
His roommates in Columbus, that would be Corey Buzzard, Sarah Buzzard.
And Sarah's girlfriend at the time, Jen Whitaker. They later got married, Sarah and Jen, also known as Nainara Jen Whitaker.
Okay, so these personal relationships, they become absolutely central, don't they?
Definitely. Understanding the dynamics there between Ryan and Corey, Sarah, Jen, and what was happening right around the time he vanished, that's the key.
So fast forward again. August 2021. It's nearly 6 years after Ryan went missing.
And officers finally tracked down Sarah and Jen, married, now living at Sarah's mother's place.
But they find them on a theft warrant. Seems unrelated at first.
Yeah, the YouTube report nails it, calling it a twisted and unpredictable turn. What starts as a minor charge just unravels into something way, way darker.
It really shows how investigations can just veer off, right? A theft warrant cracks open a cold case murder.
Exactly. So how did that happen? How did they connect those dots?
Well, let's go into the interrogation room. First, they talked to Sarah about Ryan. She and Jen both refer to him as Emma, saying Ryan was starting to transition. It's worth noting, Ryan's family hasn't confirmed this name or the transition.
Okay, so Sarah's explaining the living situation.
Yeah, she says Ryan moved in with her and Corey, her husband then. Jen moved in later. Corey apparently met Ryan online.
Right.
And Sarah mentions Corey wanted to explore polyamory, bringing Ryan into it, which she says she wasn't okay with.
You immediately notice that that unconventional setup, these complex dynamics in a house,
Yeah.
they can definitely breed tension, significant in a missing person case.
For sure. Sarah claims Ryan was only there about 2 months. She says they asked him to leave because things ended with Corey and he hadn't found a job.
Okay.
Whose story is? He packed his stuff, left on September 25th, the last day anyone supposedly heard from him, and got into some car that picked him up.
There's always a but in these situations, isn't there?
There is. A detail that just feels wrong. Sarah mentions Ryan left his own car behind.
Whoa, hang on. That's a huge red flag right there.
Isn't it?
If you're just moving out, why leave your car? Especially, I think the report mentioned, with keys and a full tank, it just doesn't track with simply leaving.
Exactly. And Ryan's dad, Warren, he knew something was seriously wrong when that car turned up. Abandoned. License plate gone. The Ryan stuff's still inside.
Okay.
And get this. A neighbor actually saw Ryan's car being dropped off near the apartment by a tow truck.
When?
About half an hour after, Sarah claimed Ryan had already left in that other mystery car.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that timeline just completely falls apart. Her story about him leaving in another car doesn't line up at all with the witness seeing a tow truck. It really suggests she was trying to mislead them from the very beginning about how Ryan left or didn't leave.
You got it. Now let's look at Jen's initial story. She talks to detectives too.
Same story.
Mostly corroborates Ryan, or Emma, living there. Describes him as quiet, keeping to himself.
Okay.
She also brings up the tension over Corey wanting Ryan in this trifecta relationship, which Jen says she didn't want either. But then Jen admits something interesting. She drove Ryan's car after he supposedly left.
She admits that.
Yeah. Says Sarah was with her, the car broke down, and they had to get it towed.
Okay, so both of them seem to be, like, carefully building this story, right? Choosing details to steer clear of suspicion.
Feels that way.
But Jen admitting she drove his car after he supposedly vanished, that just chips away even more at their story. Makes you look harder at them.
Definitely. And things are about to get much darker. Detectives drop the bomb on Sarah. Ryan is dead. Murdered.
How does she react?
They don't just tell her that. They hit her with evidence. They found her old car.
Okay.
And in the trunk, reddish stains. Tested positive for suspected blood.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
And not just the car. They found evidence inside the apartment too, specifically in the bathroom.
So the blood evidence directly contradicts the he just moved out story.
Completely.
It points to violence. And finding it in her old car in their apartment, that links them directly to whatever happened to Ryan.
And then comes maybe the weirdest, most chilling part yet.
There's more.
They confront her about the blood in the apartment near the bathtub. Jen, when confronted later, just denies everything vehemently.
Okay.
But with Sarah, the detectives bring up Google searches on her phone.
About what?
About painting with blood and interest in consuming blood.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Seriously. And also searches about jump-starting Ryan's car after it broke down.
Those online searches, that adds a really, really unsettling layer. What does that say about her mindset? It's like, macabre. Could offer some dark insight.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, Sarah lawyers up at this point.
Makes sense.
So the detectives turn back to Jen. Tell her Ryan's dead. Tell her about the blood evidence.
And she still denies it.
Continued denial. Calls it a fever dream. They push harder blood in the trunk. Blood by the bathtub where part of Ryan's body, or Emma's body as they sometimes say, was found.
Even with the physical evidence staring her in the face, she's sticking to denial. But the pressure must be immense.
And then they bring up the Google searches again with Jen.
The blood searches.
Yep. They mention the deep dives, their term into Sarah's phone. Painting with blood, drinking blood. Jen keeps saying she knows nothing about it. But things are about to escalate fast.
Using Sarah's search history against Jen, that's a clear tactic. Trying to crack her denial by showing this disturbing stuff linked to her partner.
Exactly. Because then they go back to Sarah. And now they have her Google search history. Specifically, how to start Ryan's car after it conked out.
Ah, the digital footprint. Undeniable.
Faced with that, Sarah's story finally crumbles. She confesses.
To what exactly?
She says it was an accident. Claims she was angry, pushed Ryan coming out of the bathroom. They argued, she choked him.
Choked him.
Then she says she just panicked.
Okay, that's a major break. But an accident? That feels off, considering what we know comes next. The dismemberment, the disposal. It sounds way more deliberate than panic.
I agree. It feels like maybe she's trying to minimize things, her role, maybe.
Could be. An attempt to downplay the severity. So she's confessed to choking him. What about Jen?
Jen's still in the other room. Total denial. But the detectives tell Jen, look, Sarah confessed to everything, including you helping dismember Ryan's body.
Ah, the classic interrogation move. Confronting one with the other's alleged confession.
Trying to break her story.
Does it work?
It seems to rattle her, but Jen still denies it. Calls Sarah a liar. But Sarah keeps talking, revealing these horrific details.
Like what?
She says Jen was downstairs, heard the fight, came up, and then together they had to figure out how to get rid of it. Her words.
Okay.
Sarah claims they dismembered Ryan.
Yeah.
In the bathtub, using a saw from the shed.
Oh, God.
She says she did most of the cutting, but Jen helped initially. At the joints, elbows, wrists, ankles, knees.
The methodical detail there. It just completely shreds the accident claim. This was calculated, grimly calculated.
Then the plan. Put the remains in Ryan's car, drive to Illinois, dump the car, take a bus back.
But the car wouldn't start, right, after a gas station stop.
Exactly. So plan B, transfer the Tupperware bin containing body parts into Sarah's car.
In broad daylight, at a gas station.
Apparently. Then they just left Ryan's car there on the roadside.
The sheer nerve, or maybe desperation, to move remains like that out in the open, it's hard to fathom.
And disposing of the limbs, Sarah says they just pulled over at random public dumpsters along the way to Illinois and threw them out.
Discarded in dumpsters.
But wait, it gets even more disturbing with the rest of the remains. His limbs and head were handled differently.
Differently how? Random disposal for some parts, but not others. Why?
That's the question, because investigators eventually find several boxes. Human remains inside, back at Sarah's mother's house. Okay, and inside a pot. Filled with some kind of thick, sludgy stuff. Hidden under trash bags. They find it.
Don't tell me.
Ryan's skull.
In a pot. Oh my God. That is just beyond macabre. Keeping the head like that, concealing it separately, it's deeply, deeply disturbing.
Well, this is all coming out from Sarah's confession. Jen is still denying everything back at the mother's house.
Still sticking to her story.
But then the detectives there get the update. Sarah's confessed. Everything. Including Jen helping with the dismemberment.
So they confront Jen with that definitive news.
Yes, and she still denies it. But
Sarah.
then, just as they move to formally arrest her, it takes this incredibly tragic turn.
What happens?
Jen pulls a small handgun out of her purse, and right there, at the scene, she takes her own life.
Oh no, a self-inflicted gunshot.
Yeah.
Wow, that just ends her side of the story. Any chance of getting her full account is gone, adds another layer of darkness.
Months go by after Jen's death. And then Sarah, she gives a completely new version of events.
A second confession. How different is it?
Very different. Now, she claims that on the morning Ryan died, Jen, she calls her Naira, sometimes started talking about killing him.
So now Jen's the instigator.
According to this news story, yes. Sarah says she didn't take Jen seriously at first, but then Jen started gathering things. Trash bags, bleach, the saw.
Premeditation.
Sarah claims she tried to talk Jen out of it, but Jen basically said she'd do it anyway.
This is a massive shift. Sarah's painting herself as reluctant, trying to stop it, and Jen as the driving force. It totally contradicts the accidental choking story.
Completely. In this version, Sarah says Jen soaked a rag in bleach, had vinegar nearby thinking it would make poison gas.
Okay.
And that Jen held the bleach rag over Ryan's mouth after Sarah had choked him initially.
So the method of killing changes too.
And the skull. Now, Sarah says Jen put it in a trash bag, cut it off, and put it in their freezer.
The freezer, the details keep changing and getting somehow even more gruesome. It makes you really question which parts of either story are true. How much is Sarah now shifting blame onto Jen, who can't refute it?
It's impossible to know for sure. In this second account, Sarah says she helped get rid of the forearms and calves, but Jen handled the hands and feet, also put them in the freezer.
Hands and feet in the freezer, too.
Then, on the drive to Illinois, Sarah claims Jen directed where to dump the other parts, including the torso that ended up in Mercer County and the head. Jen allegedly put it in that soup bin, bagged it, kept it in the shed, and moved it with them every time they relocated.
So this paints Jen as meticulously controlling the entire horrific process, disposal and all, with Sarah as more of a helper acting under orders.
Exactly. And this second confession introduces a really, really disturbing alleged motive.
What motive does she claim now?
Sarah says Jen believed Ryan didn't deserve to be out in the world to ruin someone else's life.
Why?
Because Jen was apparently very critical of Ryan's gender transition presentation. Had strong ideas about how someone should transition, felt Ryan wasn't doing it right according to her standards.
That is chilling. So the alleged motive is rooted in prejudice, intolerance about his transition.
That's what Sarah claims Jen felt. She also said Jen often called Ryan a disgusting human being. It's such a stark contrast to her first confession, which seemed aimed at protecting Jen.
If that motive is true, it's incredibly disturbing. Prejudice fueling such extreme violence. It adds a whole other layer of ugliness to this.
So after all these twists, turns, conflicting stories, where did it end up legally?
Well, despite the changing narratives, Sarah Buzzard pleaded guilty January 2022.
Guilty to what?
Murder, among other charges. She got life in prison, possibility of parole, but only after 30 years.
30 years. And Ryan's father, Warren.
He made a statement. Heartbreakingly simple, really. Just said no one can hurt him anymore.
Oh, man.
This case, it just highlights how incredibly difficult it can be to nail down the absolute truth, especially with conflicting stories and tragically one key person unable to give their account anymore.
Sarah's shifting stories leave so many questions. What exactly happened? How much was Sarah? How much was Jen?
Jen's death means we'll likely never know the full picture from her perspective. It just hangs there.
And that really leaves us, and everyone listening, with this unsettling thought, doesn't it? What truly drove this?
Was it some twisted sense of justice in Jen's mind, as Sarah claimed? Was it pure prejudice? Or something else entirely, something we can't even grasp?
This deep dive into Ryan Zimmerman's tragic death. It shows not just the capacity for horrific violence, but also how truth can be bent, hidden, maybe even lost. Really makes you think.
It absolutely does. What do you even make of a case like this in the end?
Welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today, we're going to be meticulously examining the disappearance and tragic death of Jasmine Cigarroa.
Yeah, we've got quite a collection of sources here. Police reports, testimony from neighbors, family accounts as well.
And our goal really is to pull out those crucial details, build a clear timeline of what happened in this, well, really unsettling case for you.
Exactly. Our mission is pretty straightforward. Give you a compelling understanding of the events. We'll sift through all this information, highlighting what truly matter.
Right. So you can grasp the core of the story without getting sort of bogged down in maybe unnecessary details.
Precisely.
So for the best experience, as we walk through this together, maybe pop on some headphones or just turn up the volume a bit. It's just us digging into this right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So we were sleeping here, and we'd appeared a big boom above us.
It was over her husband because she didn't know if to divorce him or not, because they had an argument those 3 months ago where he tried pulling her out of the car.
She just told me I have a confession to make. I haven't been completely honest with you. I've been in an abusive relationship with Johnny.
Let's get into it. The timeline, it starts with Jasmine Cigarroa's unexplained absence. That was Tuesday, March 9th, 2021.
Right. And the first sort of red flag was that she missed an appointment with friends.
An appointment with friends.
Yeah, and this wasn't just, a missed call or something. It was a scheduled meeting she just didn't show up for.
And people who knew her felt that was unusual.
Very unusual. They said it was really out of character for her. So right away, that suggests something wasn't right.
Okay. Then the very next day, that's Wednesday, March 10th, her husband, Jonathan Nuno Mahangos, he reports her missing from their home.
Yes, from their place on the 7500 block of East 28th Avenue.
Okay, so let's focus on what Jonathan first told the 911 operator. What was his initial story?
Well, he said he last seen Jasmine on Tuesday morning before he left for work.
Oh, okay.
And he also mentioned she texted him around 10 a.m. that same Tuesday.
A text. What did it say?
It said she was planning to go out with friends that evening, but, and this is kind of key, she didn't give any specifics.
No specifics, like who or where.
Exactly. No names, no location, just going out with friends.
Did he mention anything else? Something about her car, maybe?
Yes, exactly. He noted her car, the red Mini Cooper, was still at their home.
It's still there. So what did he make of that?
Well, his assumption was, okay, a friend must have picked her up for this evening outing.
Wouldn't you usually know which friend? Or maybe ask? Especially if the car's still there.
You'd think so, right? It seems a bit unusual not to have those details, or at least not to have asked about them. His assumption, without her apparently mentioning any pickup plans, it just feels a little off.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't quite track with how people normally talk about plans, does it?
No, not really.
Okay, so let's bring in some other perspectives then, see if Jonathan's account holds up. What did the neighbors see or hear around this time?
Right, the neighbor testimonies. This is where things start to get, well, conflicting and frankly, pretty unsettling.
Oh.
One neighbor, they were home with their young son that Tuesday morning. They remembered it specifically because the son had a doctor's appointment at 11 a.m.
Okay, so they have a clear time marker.
Exactly. And they recall hearing a big boom coming from the Cigarroa's apartment.
A big boom. That sounds significant.
It does. They said they initially kind of dismissed it, but the intensity of the sound, it stuck with them. It wasn't just a door slam or something normal.
Wow. Okay. A big boom. Did they hear anything else right after that?
Well, about 20 minutes after this boom, so maybe around 11:20 or so, the same neighbor heard Jasmine's car start up.
Her red Mini Cooper. The loud one.
That's the one. Very recognizable. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Go on.
The neighbor specifically noted the car didn't just drive off. It, quote, sat there idling for a while.
Idling.
Yeah. And then when it did pull off, it was hesitant, really hesitant. The neighbor was quite clear this was not like Jasmine's usual way of driving off, which was apparently smooth and prompt.
So a loud bang, then maybe 20 minutes later, her car starts, idles for a bit, then pulls away hesitantly.
Exactly. That whole sequence, it definitely raises questions about what might have been happening inside that apartment around 11 a.m. Tuesday.
It really paints a strange picture. And the neighbors' observations, they didn't stop there, did they? It went into the evening.
That's right. Later that Tuesday evening, around 10 p.m., this neighbor saw Jonathan's white car parked in their shared garage.
And that was unusual.
They found it unusual, yeah, based on, the typical patterns of who parked where and when.
Okay.
And then even later, after midnight, the neighbor came home from picking up their spouse. As they were pulling into the garage,
Yes.
they saw Jonathan actually moving his white car out of the garage right as they were pulling in.
Moving his car out after midnight.
Yeah, so that's pretty noteworthy late-night activity, especially when you compare it to what he initially told the police about, just having a normal evening.
It definitely suggests something was going on that he wasn't immediately sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, so discrepancies are already piling up. Now, let's bring in Jasmine's brother, Francisco. What did he notice?
Francisco's observations add another layer, particularly about that red Mini Cooper again.
The parking.
Exactly. He noticed it was parked, tilted in the garage. The front was pointing left. The back was towards the other neighbor's garage space.
And why is that significant? Just tilted parking.
Well, it might seem small, but Francisco stressed that Jasmine was incredibly meticulous about her parking, like obsessive about it being perfectly straight.
Oh.
So for him, this tilted parking immediately suggested someone else had parked the car, someone who maybe wasn't as careful or perhaps parked it in a hurry.
Right. So, okay, let's just recap quickly. We've got a hesitant car departure, Jonathan moving his car late at night, and now this weird parking job. None of that lines up neatly with Jonathan's story of a normal Tuesday.
Not at all.
And the sources also mentioned their marriage wasn't exactly stable.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. The investigation, talking to friends and family, it uncovered that their marriage was deeply troubled. People described it as being on the verge of collapse.
Really?
Tragically, yes. Jasmine had actually confided in a friend that she was in an abusive relationship with Jonathan.
Oh, no.
And that she'd even been to the hospital a few times because of it.
Wow. That's serious.
Very. She'd also talked about trying to leave him before and him trying to leave too, but somehow they always ended up back together. It sounds like a really volatile and potentially dangerous dynamic.
And Francisco, her brother, he had more specifics on this too, didn't he?
He did. He recalled a really disturbing argument, maybe about 3 months before she disappeared. He said Jonathan actually tried pulling her out of the car.
Pulling her out of the car physically?
That's what he said. And apparently it got bad enough that the police were called.
Police were involved previously. Okay.
And Francisco also revealed something else crucial about a specific Tuesday, March 9th.
What is that?
Jasmine had a therapy appointment scheduled for 1 p.m. that day.
She had an appointment scheduled for 1 p.m. on the day she disappeared.
Yes.
Then,
which really makes you think, doesn't it? It shows she was actively seeking help. She had concrete plans for that afternoon.
it definitely doesn't fit with this idea of her just spontaneously deciding to go out with some unnamed friends later that evening without telling Jonathan any details.
Exactly. It casts even more doubt on his version of events.
What else did Francisco notice? He went to the apartment after she was reported missing, right?
He did, and he noticed something he found really strange.
What?
All of Jasmine's shoes were gone. Like 3 or 4 pairs, just missing from the apartment.
All her shoes. That is weird.
Right. He knew her, and he felt that wasn't typical. It suggested she hadn't just, stepped out briefly. Why would she leave without any shoes?
Yeah, good point. Okay, and then there's the Ring camera footage, or I guess the lack of footage. This seems really important.
Absolutely crucial. Francisco managed to get access to the footage from Jasmine's Ring doorbell camera.
And
he found a huge gap, a significant gap in the recording.
When was the gap?
The camera was apparently turned off from around 11 p.m. on Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, all
At
right.
about 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
Right around the time the neighbor saw him moving his car, and before he reported her missing.
Precisely. And importantly, the information was that only Jonathan had access to the Ring account to turn it off or on.
So only he could have turned it off during that exact window.
That was the understanding. The timing is just incredibly suspicious. It begs the question, what happened during those 8 hours when the camera was conveniently offline?
It really does make you wonder what someone might not want recorded. Okay, let's circle back to Jonathan's statements to the police then. He claimed the marriage was happy and healthy.
Right, which we now know directly contradicts what friends and family and even Jasmine herself had said.
What else did he tell investigators about that Tuesday morning? Did he stick to the normal morning story?
Pretty much. He described it as completely normal, said they were even making plans for her graduation trip to Utah.
Okay. And the text message about going out with friends?
He maintained she sent it around 10 a.m., and his reason for just replying okay was, he claimed, to avoid an argument based on their, past relationship issues.
How did he explain the boom that the neighbor heard so clearly?
The boom. He attributed that to their dog.
The dog?
Yeah, said the dog was playing with what he called an unbreakable bone and must have banged it really hard.
An unbreakable dog bone caused a big boom. That sounds a bit thin.
It does seem like a stretch, doesn't it? He also sort of downplayed his relationship with the neighbors, saying he didn't know them well, and mentioned he'd filed complaints about the downstairs neighbors smoking weed.
Trying to discredit them, maybe?
Perhaps. It could be seen as an attempt to deflect or paint them in a negative light.
What about the text messages Jasmine supposedly sent him? Did he show them to the police?
Well, that's another point. When they asked about texts from Jasmine on Tuesday, he initially said he didn't have any.
Didn't have them? Why not?
His explanation was that he routinely deleted all his messages every month. So conveniently, that specific text was gone.
That sounds very convenient indeed. Monthly deletion of all texts.
It raised eyebrows, yes. He also strongly denied ever parking Jasmine's car, except maybe, possibly, for a quick moment to practice reversing it once.
Denied parking her car, even though her brother noticed it parked strangely.
Correct. And he insisted his own white car was parked out on the street the entire time.
Which directly contradicts the neighbor who saw it in the garage late Tuesday night and saw him moving it after midnight.
Another direct contradiction. His story just wasn't lining up with the physical observations.
Okay, now this is where technology comes in. The cell phone data. This must have been a major turning point for investigators.
Absolutely pivotal. Investigators got his cell phone records, and the data showed his phone leaving their address shortly after midnight on Wednesday morning.
Leaving the apartment. Just like the neighbor suggested.
Exactly. The data showed the phone heading eastbound on I-70.
And what did Jonathan say when confronted with this? Did he deny it?
Vehemently. Despite this concrete digital evidence showing his phone moving away from home in the middle of the night, he absolutely denied leaving the apartment at that time.
Wow. Denying hard evidence like that is bold. Did he eventually crack? Did he offer any explanation?
Well, only after they kept pressing him. After repeated questioning, he finally admitted, okay, yes, he did leave the apartment around midnight.
He admitted it. What was his reason?
His story started changing. First, he claimed he just drove a short distance to Tower Road.
Okay.
But then he changed it again, said, no, actually, he stopped on Smith Road instead.
Why the change? Why the drive at all?
His explanation for the sudden midnight drive was that he couldn't sleep. Said he was worried about Jasmine.
Worried about Jasmine, so he went for a drive east on I-70 and initially lied about it.
Exactly. These inconsistencies, the shifting story about where he went and why, it just further damages his credibility. It raises huge doubts about what he was really doing that night.
So with this cell phone data pointing east on I-70, the search for Jasmine must have gained a new focus area.
It did. Based on that data showing where his phone had been, the search efforts began on Thursday, March 11th, focusing on that general area along I-70.
And tragically, that search, it didn't take long, did it?
No, unfortunately not. On Friday, March 12th, searchers discovered Jasmine Cigarroa's remains.
Where were they found?
At East 26th Avenue and Powhatan Road.
And how does that location connect?
It's within the same area where Jonathan's cell phone data had placed him during those early hours of Wednesday morning. The location matched the phone data.
Oh my God. And the cause of death?
It was determined to be strangulation.
So the location matches, his phone pings, the death is violent.
What happened legally? Did he maintain his innocence?
He did. Despite all this mounting evidence, the inconsistencies, the neighbors' accounts, the phone data, the location of the body, Jonathan maintained his innocence throughout.
But what was the verdict?
He was found guilty. In 2024, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Life without parole. So when you put all these pieces together, all this information from the sources, what are the key takeaways that really stand out?
Well, there are several, really. First, you have the clear pattern of inconsistencies in Jonathan's timeline right from the very beginning. Right, his story kept changing.
Exactly. Then you have the neighbor's observations, the boom, the strange car behavior, seeing him moving the car late at night, all contradicting his initial account.
Things he couldn't really explain away.
Then there's the background context, the confirmed history of a troubled, even abusive relationship. That can't be ignored.
No.
The ring camera gap is huge. That suspiciously timed outage when only he could control it.
Very suspicious.
And his evolving contradictory explanations for that late-night drive, especially when faced with his own cell phone data, it just completely undermines anything he said.
Yeah, the lies really piled up.
And then the most damning piece, perhaps the tragic discovery of Jasmine's remains in the exact area where his cell phone placed him just hours after she was likely killed. It paints a very clear, very grim picture.
Wow. This deep dive into the sources around Jasmine Cigarroa's disappearance and death.
Yeah.
It really does reveal a disturbing sequence of events. It's far more complex, far more tragic than just a missing person report initially suggested.
Absolutely. And as you process all this information, what stands out most to you? Maybe think about the weight of those inconsistencies in his stories.
Yeah, and how seemingly small details, like the way the car was parked or that ring camera being off, how significant they become in the larger picture.
Exactly. Those details really matter when you look at everything together.
The hope, of course, as the outcome suggests, is that the conviction and sentence provide at least some measure of solace, some sense of justice for Jasmine's loved ones after going through something so devastating.
We can only hope so. Thank you for joining us as we've navigated through this complex and really tragic set of information together.
We definitely encourage you to reflect on the details we've discussed. Perhaps consider what further questions or thoughts arise for you from this incredibly sad story. Imagine this, a stolen car, a high-speed chase through San Bernardino on a spring afternoon, sirens blaring.
Yeah, intense stuff.
But behind it all, there's this really troubling question about a missing actress, Adea Shabani.
Exactly, and that's what we're diving into today. This isn't just, a random chase. It connects directly to Adea's disappearance.
Right, a young woman, Adea, try and make it in Hollywood, and then she's gone.
Our goal here is to really unpack the known details, piece together what happened based on reports and a documentary transcript we've looked at.
We want to explore the information that's out there about Adea, her disappearance, and everything that followed.
Focusing on the sequence of events as they unfolded.
Okay, so let's start with Adea Shabani herself. Who was she?
Well, she was young, mid-20s, I believe. Originally from Dubai. She'd actually gotten a business degree there, worked in a jewelry store for a bit.
But Hollywood was the dream.
Definitely. She moved to LA, enrolled in the Stella Adler Academy of Acting back in 2016, so she was serious about it.
And what was she like, personality-wise?
People who knew her, like her neighbor Crystal Newman, described her as really friendly, warm, lively, even spunky.
Spunky. I like that. Sounds like she wasn't afraid to speak her mind.
Apparently not. And she was active online, social media, but more for fun, keeping friends and family back home updated, not like seeking fame online necessarily.
Got it. So enter Christopher Spotts. How does he fit in?
Okay, so Chris Spotts, he was from Colorado, had a psychology degree from 2009. He dabbled in film stuff, a short film, some documentaries.
And he also ended up at Stella Adler.
That's right. That's where he and Adea met.
And things moved quickly.
Reports say they hit it off right away. There was an immediate connection, it seems.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Yeah. Apparently, Chris kept the relationship pretty secret, under wraps.
Why? Any idea?
Well, a major factor seems to be that he was already married to a woman named Mary Elmack.
Oh, okay. Did Adea know?
It seems she did, which, makes their whole dynamic even more complicated. It wasn't a secret from Adea, just from others, perhaps.
So it was this on-again, off-again thing?
Exactly. Very much back and forth. And get this. Some of Adea's friends claimed Chris had actually proposed to her.
Proposed? While married?
That was the claim. It paints a really messy, confusing picture of their relationship, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Secrecy, another marriage, a proposal. It sounds, well, unstable.
Definitely unstable. That kind of secrecy, it suggests a real lack of transparency. Conflicting loyalties, maybe?
Makes you wonder about the power balance in that relationship, too.
For sure. So let's move to late February 2018, February 26th, a Monday.
Okay, what happens?
Adea misses an acting class. And not just any class, like an important one where industry people might be watching.
That sounds unlike her, based on what you said about her ambition.
Completely unlike her. Her friends noticed immediately. Plus, no social media activity, calls going straight to voicemail.
Alarm bells ringing.
Instantly. Her friends knew something was wrong.
So, the police get involved. What did they find initially?
Well, they went to her apartment. The door was unlocked.
Unlocked. Strange.
Yeah, and inside, it looked like she just stepped out for a minute. Laptop on, nothing seemed disturbed, no sign of forced entry or a struggle.
Okay, so maybe she just popped out and something happened.
That was maybe the first thought. But then, CCTV footage.
The cameras, what did they show?
They showed Adea leaving her building 3 days earlier, actually, on Friday, February 23rd, around 1 p.m.
Okay. Was she alone?
No, she was with Chris Spots.
Yeah.
And she had 2 suitcases with her.
Suitcases. Right. That changes things. That doesn't sound like popping out for an errand.
Not at all. It suggests a planned trip, something longer, which kind of contradicts how her apartment looked, you know?
So the police talk to Chris, obviously. What's his story?
He cooperates initially, admits picking her up on the 23rd, that Friday.
And the suitcases. Where were they going?
He claimed they were heading up to his father's place in Northern California.
Okay. A road trip.
Supposedly. But he says they got into a big fight in the car.
Hey.
And he kicked her out. Just kicked her out of the car.
Kicked her out where?
About 25 miles from her home, he claimed. Near Santa Clarita.
25 miles in the middle of nowhere. Did he check on her? Go back.
Apparently not. He just drove off. Which is bizarre and incredibly callous.
Beyond callous. Even if you have a fight, you don't just abandon someone like that. It raises so many questions about that supposed fight.
Exactly. And his behavior afterwards just gets stranger.
How so?
Well, remember, he's engaged to, or rather, married to Mary Elmack.
Right.
On March 1st, just a few days after Adea was last seen, Chris drives to Colorado with Mary.
Leaving California.
Okay. In his Toyota Tacoma truck. And here's the thing. That truck, it had been reported stolen.
Wait, his truck was reported stolen. And he's driving it.
Yes. The whole sequence, the flimsy story about the fight, leaving Adea stranded, fleeing the state with his wife in a reportedly stolen vehicle.
It looks really bad. Like someone running from something.
It absolutely does. Doesn't sound like an innocent person, does it?
Meanwhile, Adea's family must have been going frantic.
Oh, completely. Her poor mother flew all the way from Dubai to Los Angeles. They were putting up missing person posters everywhere.
Did they offer a reward?
They did. $25,000 for any information. There were ground searches organized too, but nothing. Just silence.
That agony of not knowing. It's unimaginable.
Truly devastating for them. Just hoping against hope.
While the family searched, what were investigators finding? Anything else?
They started digging into Adea's phone records, and it painted a pretty grim picture of her relationship with Chris.
More than just on again, off again.
Yeah. Lots of arguments seemed to be documented or at least hinted at, and apparently there were times he'd take her phone away after they fought.
Controlling behavior, another red flag.
A big one. And then something even darker emerged from one of her friends.
What was that?
This friend recounted an alleged incident back on Valentine's Day just before she disappeared. The friend claimed that Chris had allegedly tried to suffocate Adea, choked her until she was unconscious.
What? That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Did Adea report it?
Here's the really disturbing part. According to the friend, Adea seemed to have no memory of the incident happening afterwards.
No memory. How's that possible?
It raises awful questions, doesn't it? Was she somehow manipulated, gaslighted, or was the trauma that severe? We don't know, but it points to potential very serious violence.
So the suspicion on Chris is mounting. Stolen truck, weird story, controlling behavior, now this alleged violence.
Exactly. And then comes the breaking point for his story, the alibi.
The trip to Northern California.
Well, part of his story involved why they were supposedly driving north on February 23rd. He'd claimed they were going to his uncle's funeral.
Okay, a funeral. Seems specific.
It does. So the police checked it out. They talked to Chris's father.
Was there a funeral?
No. The father confirmed his brother Chris's uncle was very much alive.
Wow. So the entire funeral story was a lie.
A complete fabrication. And the father also said Chris had arrived home alone that Friday evening, February 23rd. No Adea.
That blows his whole alibi apart.
Yeah.
He lied about where he was, why he was there, and who he was with when Adea vanished.
Precisely. It's a critical turning point. It strongly suggests he was actively trying to cover his tracks regarding Adea's disappearance.
Okay, so his story's collapsing.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Fast forward a few weeks to March 22nd. Remember that stolen Toyota Tacoma?
The one he drove to Colorado in.
It gets spotted back in California, in San Bernardino.
And Chris is driving it?
Chris is driving it. The police try to pull him over, and, well, he floors it.
A car chase. The one from the beginning.
That's the one. A high-speed pursuit, reportedly covering about 60 miles. Pure desperation, it seems.
Where did it end?
It finally ended in Corona, California. Police managed to stop the truck.
And they arrested him.
They moved in to apprehend him, but before they could reach him, Chris took his own life. He shot himself inside the truck.
Oh my God, so he died right there.
Yes. Died by suicide as the police closed in.
Which means any chance of getting direct answers from him about Adea.
Gone. Vanished in that moment. His death, while tragic in itself, cemented the suspicion but also created this permanent void of information.
Leaving everyone wondering what exactly happened to Adea.
But the search for her continued. And then, 5 days after Chris's death...
They found her.
Yes. March 27th. They found Adea's body.
Where?
In a shallow grave. Way up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, a remote area.
Oh, Adea. How did they identify her?
Through her distinctive tattoos and later confirmed with dental records.
And the cause of death?
The autopsy determined it was blunt force trauma to the head.
Blunt force trauma. So she was murdered violently?
Yes. A violent end in a remote location. And considering Chris's lies, his flight, the location where her body was found, the implication is incredibly strong, even without a confession.
It points overwhelmingly towards him, even if we can't have that final, definitive proof from a trial.
Exactly. His suicide prevents the full legal process, prevents us from knowing the absolute specifics of her final moments, what exactly was said, the precise sequence. We'll likely never know.
And that's the lingering tragedy, isn't it? For her family especially. No trial, no conviction, no justice in the traditional sense.
Just this profound loss and the horror of how her life was cut short. All that potential, the dream of acting.
Just extinguished.
Okay.
It's just so incredibly sad and frustrating.
It really is. A promising young life ended violently, leaving so many questions unanswered.
You look back at the whole story,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship, the red flags, the disappearance, the chase. It's a devastating chain of events.
And it makes you think, as the documentary hinted, about instincts in relationships, about, trusting your gut.
Yeah, the secrecy Chris insisted on, the alleged controlling behavior, the story about the suffocation. These are huge warning signs.
They really are. It's a terribly hard lesson, obviously, highlighted by this tragedy, but it emphasizes being aware, being safe, and maybe not feeling like you have to hide parts of yourself or your relationship from people who care about you.
Very powerful point. It's just an unsettling case all around. Adea deserves so much better. Her family deserved answers.
Absolutely. A truly heartbreaking end to Adea Shabani's story, leaving a permanent mark on everyone who knew her.
Okay, let's dive into this one. January 2nd, 2018, May, Pearl, Texas. That 911 call from Sandra Garner. Wow. The distress is just immediate, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You hear her reporting her husband, John, shot by an intruder.
911, what is your emergency? I need the police. My husband was shot. No, hurry, please. I think he's still alive. He's making noises. Oh, John! Brother, wake up!
Got a telephone call from the Ellis County Sheriff's Office saying, hey, we've had a shooting in your city.
Her husband's been shot by an unknown male, I believe, that had broken into the house.
When I got there, I met a deputy from Ellis County.
Where you at, the bedroom?
Please help him.
And we see a body on the floor.
His name is John.
John what?
Garner.
Excuse me, man, back up on me. He's still warm.
Is he alive?
No, ma'am. Come on, sweet.
Just raw panic.
Yeah, trying to process something horrific right as it's happening.
And the scene police found, well, it matched that trauma. Especially considering, They just celebrated their 18th anniversary the night before.
Right. Suddenly, police are there, John's dead, and Sandra's the only witness. Understandably distraught, trying to explain it all.
Exactly. So the initial steps seem standard. Gunshot residue test for Sandra, collecting her clothes.
Then hours of questioning start at the sheriff's office. But pretty quickly, you start to see things that, well, don't quite fit the picture of just a grieving widow.
That's putting it mildly. Her story was very detailed. A masked intruder, white male, claiming John ruined his life.
And demanding money, right? She even mentioned John supposedly keeping huge amounts of cash at home.
Yeah, she quoted a figure, I think, $188,000 the last time she counted it, supposedly.
Which is, in itself, a lot of cash to have lying around. But here's the bit that really junks out, that instruction.
Ah, yes. The intruder telling her to sit down and count to 100 before calling 911.
Exactly. And threatening to come back and kill her if he heard sirens sooner. It just feels weird, you know?
Yeah.
Almost staged.
It absolutely raises eyebrows. It's not what you'd typically expect in that kind of violent encounter. It immediately makes you question the whole story.
Right. So that's what we're digging into here, isn't it? Looking at these inconsistencies, the questions that pop up from the police reports, the court testimony.
Precisely. So maybe let's start with their background, Sandra and John. Give us some context before that night.
Okay. So Sandra was 13 years older. They met at work in Paris, Texas. 2 years later, they eloped to Vegas, get married on New Year's Eve. What was the dynamic like, based on what we've seen?
Well, despite the age gap, sources suggest they seemed pretty solid. John was described as a, quote, tough boss.
Fired people, didn't shy away from that.
Right. And also apparently drank heavily, was on antidepressants, so maybe some internal struggles there.
Seems plausible. But personally, it sounded like a partnership. John became like a second dad to Sandra's son, Wes.
And then crucially, when Sandra got her MS diagnosis in 2014, John really stepped up, became her caretaker, her rock, some said.
Yeah, that detail about her feeling suicidal like a burden, and John saying, if you do that, I'll kill myself too. That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It really does. Suggests a very deep, maybe even codependent connection.
And then they moved to May Pearl in 2016, closer to family. John's dad living right across the street.
The backyard was a gathering spot. Even John's cousin's wife considered Sandra family. So on the surface, happy, connected.
But that surface starts to crack pretty fast when you look at how people reacted after the shooting, right?
Definitely. When Sandra first told her story after leaving the sheriff's office, some of the Garner family, they weren't buying it. There was immediate doubt.
And then her son Wes shows up at the sheriff's office.
Yes, and his conversation with Lieutenant Thompson was pretty significant.
He actually asked if his own mother could have done it early on.
He did, openly wondering if she could be a killer. I mean, that's shocking. And you can see how that would immediately shift the police focus.
Absolutely. So suspicion lands on Sandra pretty hard, pretty fast. Police searched the house, the garage.
And her Mustang, locked inside the detached garage. This becomes important.
Because when they asked for the keys?
Her reaction wasn't great, according to the reports. Wes went to get them, and she apparently threw her fork down, got angry, refused initially.
Which again raises questions. Why resist searching your own car after your husband's been murdered?
Exactly. And those questions got much louder 3 days later.
That's when they searched the Mustang again, right?
Right. And under the front seat, they find a .38 caliber pistol.
The murder weapon.
The murder weapon, wrapped in wet towels inside a plastic bag.
And registered to Sandra, a gift from John.
Correct. The wet towels, the bag. It suggests someone tried to wipe it down, maybe remove evidence.
But placing it under the seat of her locked car, it's a direct link. And crucially,
no fingerprints, no DNA on the gun itself.
So gloves or someone else entirely.
Those are the possibilities. But Sandra denied putting it there, flat out denied it.
Which directly contradicts finding the gun registered to her in her car.
But then came the digital evidence, the part that's really hard to explain away.
The internet searches on her iPad and phone, just days before the murder.
Yeah, searches like how to kill somebody in their sleep.
And she clicked a link, didn't she? 16 ways to kill somebody and not get caught.
She did. I mean, when investigators find that, it's incredibly difficult not to see that as pointing towards premeditation, or at least exploring the idea very seriously.
It puts her initial story under immense pressure. But the investigation itself, it wasn't exactly flawless, was it?
No, far from it. The police chief at the time, Boyd Norton, admitted this was his first murder investigation.
First one. Wow.
And he acknowledged mistakes. Big ones.
Like the crime scene not being properly secured, first responders going into the bedroom.
Exactly. Potentially contaminating everything. And Sandra's hands weren't bagged right away.
So the gunshot residue test.
They only found 3 tiny specks on her left arm days later, which isn't much, especially if you just fired a .38. You'd expect more, likely on both hands.
These aren't small errors, are they? They create reasonable doubt.
For sure. And then there's the issue with Chief Norton's photos.
Oh, right. The crime scene photos he took on his personal phone just disappeared.
Vanished, which is bizarre. So the prosecution had to use photos taken like 8 hours later by the sheriff's crime scene unit.
And they didn't even fingerprint the Mustang's door handle where the gun was found.
Nope. Another missed opportunity. You can see why the defense had a field day with this stuff.
And there was that timing issue too, right? How long it took police to respond to the 911 call.
Yeah, a bit of a discrepancy. Sandra seemed to think it took longer. The chief recalled about 15 minutes. In these situations, timing is everything.
So you have all this circumstantial stuff pointing at Sandra, the gun, the searches. But the prosecution really struggled with motive, didn't they?
They really did. Why would she kill John? He was her caregiver, especially with MS getting worse. It didn't quite add up that why was missing.
Which always leaves a door open. And the defense, Tom Pappas, he pushed that door open towards someone else.
Towards Wes, Sandra's son.
Pointing out he might need money, maybe thought he was in John's will, although that wasn't confirmed.
Right. But beyond the defense just suggesting it, Wes was the first one to cast suspicion on his mom.
True. He knew the house, the dogs.
And now, later on, Sandra actually believes Wes killed John. It's a complete turnaround.
That's a huge shift. And what about the timing of those web searches again?
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. They happened between 11 p.m. and midnight, 4 days before the murder.
But Sandra and John usually went to bed around 9:03 p.m.
And Wes was at their house that night. So who was actually doing the searching? It raises a serious question.
And Wes's behavior with the police seemed almost too helpful to some.
Well, he readily gave information about his mom, her gun, where she kept it in the Mustang.
And the gun was found exactly where he suggested it might be, under the seat.
Precisely. It's a detail that certainly stands out. Looks convenient, maybe.
Then the alibi issue. That really fell apart, didn't it?
It did. Initially, he said he was home watching Netflix, drinking beer. Records seemed to back it up. But they realized the time zone on the records was wrong. Once corrected, his alibi for the actual time of the murder evaporated. His whereabouts were unknown.
That's a massive hole in his story.
It is. Yet, the prosecution insisted Wes couldn't have done it. Said his personality wasn't suited for violence, couldn't handle blood.
Which feels, I don't know, subjective. Not exactly hard evidence.
Not really. And they also argued, well, wouldn't Sandra recognize her own son, even masked?
But Sandra's explanation, the trauma, the shock, could that cloud recognition in a moment like that?
It's certainly possible. Trauma does strange things to memory and perception.
So it goes to trial. Sandra decides to testify, even though her lawyer maybe wasn't keen.
Always a huge risk. And her testimony was reportedly difficult.
Struggled with questions, especially about the web searches. Claimed memory loss.
Yeah. The jury would have been watching that very closely, her demeanor, her answers.
And after just 3 hours,
the verdict came back. Not guilty.
Imagine that moment for her. After 21 months in jail, just release.
An unbelievable emotional swing. Legally, she was free.
But that legal outcome didn't mean closure for the Garner family, did it?
Not at all. Most of them remained convinced she was guilty. Watching her walk free was incredibly painful for them, added to their grief.
And then, adding another strange layer, Sandra moved back into the house.
The same house where John was murdered. Yeah. She said she wanted to be close to his memory.
But living right across from John's parents, who believe she did it?
Yeah.
It's got to be incredibly tense and just odd to many.
It's definitely an unusual choice. And it highlights the other chilling possibility.
If Sandra didn't do it,
then the real killer is still out there, which raises concerns for her safety, too.
Absolutely. And the family fallout. Profound. Sandra and her daughter Adea are estranged from Wes now.
Right. Sandra said she feels deeply hurt, that her love for him has changed. Understandable, given he pointed the finger at her.
And through all of this, Sandra insists she's innocent. Emphasizes how much she relied on John, how close they were.
She's never wavered from that denial. But legally, the chapter is closed.
Because of double jeopardy, right? She can't be tried again for this no matter what.
Correct. Even if new evidence surfaced or she confessed tomorrow, the not guilty verdict stands for that specific charge. That's how the system works.
So we're left with this deeply unsettling picture. A not guilty verdict, yes, but so many questions hanging over John Garner's death.
We've walked through the evidence, the doubts, the flawed investigation. It's a lot to take in.
It really shows the complexity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A bungled investigation, maybe a setup, a family just torn apart by it all.
Absolutely. Suspicion, grief, anger. It's devastating.
And it leaves us with that final thought, really. In a case like this, with so much uncertainty, what does justice even look like? You have the legal verdict, but does it feel like the truth was found?
It's tough when an investigation has that many holes and the consequences are so permanent for everyone. It makes you wonder, what do you make of it all, looking back at the evidence and the way things played out?
Help them say not guilty, please. And I know people think I'm crazy for wanting to be here, but I just want to be as close to him as I can.
Sandra Garner is now free to spend time with what remains of her family. She knows others still see her as a killer who got away with it. In the eyes of the law, she is not guilty, and the case against her is forever closed.
Under the law, you cannot be charged with this crime again, even if you say you did it. So let me ask you, did you kill your husband?
No. Man was the love of my life. I told you he was all I had. He was going to take care of me for the rest of my life. Without him, I have nobody. No, I didn't kill my husband.
Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. October 13th, 2024. It's the afternoon in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. A neighbor dials 911, hearing multiple gunshots coming from the Mistra family's house next door.
Yeah, when deputies get there, it's clear pretty fast that something truly awful has happened.
Right at the center of it is 24-year-old Adlai Mistra, and the things he first said to the deputies, they were just deeply unsettling. Bizarre, really.
Totally bizarre. He apparently said his family rushed him with weapons, but then almost in the same breath, he's saying their wounds had healed.
And then he apparently mentioned shooting them in the head and watching them convulse. It makes no sense from the get-go.
Exactly. It's just this immediate jarring contradiction.
So we've been trying to piece together what we can about this case. Our main source for this deep dive is a YouTube video. It's from the Explore With Us channel called Cops Make the Worst Discovery of Their Lives.
And it includes police records, some footage that apparently hasn't been widely seen before. We should also maybe mention the title for today's deep dive. It comes from the Dark Stories podcast.
Good point. So our goal here is really to unpack the details we have from these sources, try to understand the sequence of events. And, you know, it's crucial for everyone listening to remember this is an active investigation. Adlai Mistra is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely. So let's start with that 911 call. The neighbor, Daniel, I think his name was, he said he heard 5 or 6 shots first.
Right, but that was apparently like an hour and a half before he actually called 911.
Yeah, which is odd. Then he heard one more shot about 10 minutes later. He also mentioned trying to text and call the family first, even honking his horn outside their house.
That delay, it does add a strange element to the timeline, doesn't it?
It really does. So deputies finally arrive. It's about 2:50 p.m., and the first person they see is Adlai.
And his interaction is, like you said, just weird from the start. He tells them his family rushed him in his room, his dad with a knife, his sister with a sledgehammer.
And then he says, "I killed it." Dad's specific phrasing, it.
Followed immediately by that claim about finding their bodies but their wounds having healed. It's just impossible.
That's the thing. That detail is so far removed from reality, it immediately flags something as being terribly wrong, even before they see any evidence.
You can see why the deputies would be, extremely cautious. They also noted blood on his hands.
Right. And his explanation for that was apparently that his father rushed him, he hit him, and then his mother said something like, "You need to die."
So they secure Adlai in their vehicle and then head inside the house.
And what they find inside, well, it tragically confirms their worst fears. The video footage shows pools of blood, smears of blood on the floor going up the stairs.
Just grim evidence of extreme violence.
And more than just blood, they find shell casings, a knife, and a mop that's covered in blood.
And there was some suggestion, wasn't there, about bleach maybe being used on the mop?
Yeah, the video mentioned that possibility.
Yeah.
Which, if true, could point to, an attempt to clean up afterwards.
There's also the really sad detail about the family dog. It was found injured.
Yeah, injured by gunshots, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It had to be euthanized later, which is just heartbreaking.
It is. And it also raises that grim question: could some of the blood they saw initially have been the dog's? It just speaks to the chaos of the violence.
It does, another victim, really. But the most horrific discovery was still to come. When they searched the backyard.
That's where they found drag marks?
Exactly. Drag marks leading away from the house. And at the end of those marks, they found the bodies of Adlai's father, David, his mother, Nancy, and his 17-year-old sister, Brill.
So his earlier statement about burying them, which must have sounded like just more rambling.
Tragically, it turned out to be true. He had apparently dragged their bodies outside.
Which leads us to Adlai's interrogation. The part shown in the source video, his behavior just gets more and more erratic.
Oh, definitely. He starts talking about seismic waves and cell towers, referencing landmarks like Big Ben, top of Seattle, as targets.
Yeah, and just these really disjointed stories, helping a woman pull coins out of her, well, out of somewhere private. Mentions of submarines, his family bowling and losing consciousness.
It's like a word salad, almost, completely disconnected from the reality of why he's there. He also apparently claimed he saw a major catastrophe happening on police cameras and thermal imaging.
It just paints a picture of someone whose mind is, well, somewhere else entirely, experiencing a profound break, it seems.
Absolutely. And it makes sense that the detective decided, look, we need to Mirandize him right now. Given his state, ensuring his rights were protected was critical.
Even after the Miranda warning, his explanation for the killings remained deeply disturbing and, frankly, illogical.
He said he had to kill them, but only after they lost consciousness, which again makes no sense.
And then that incredibly chilling, incomprehensible phrase, something like raising that half an hour eating body.
Yeah, just horrifyingly bizarre. And he also admitted to shooting the dog during this.
Adding to the physical evidence back at the house, they also found a bloody meat tenderizer.
Right. So the investigation moves forward, the victims are formally identified, and then comes the task of delivering this devastating news.
To Adlai's older sister, Nancy Jr., and also to Daniel, the neighbor who made the 911 call.
And their reactions, as you'd expect, were just shock, total disbelief. It underscores how sudden and unexpected this was for those who knew the family.
Nancy Jr.'s comment was particularly heartbreaking. She apparently said she expected Adlai might die, given his issues, but not the rest of her family.
Wow, that says a lot about the underlying stress and perhaps the known volatility there.
And then there's Adlai, back in interrogation, giving directions to where he buried the bodies, like specific details about a trail, gates?
Followed by that nonsensical reason. Lost consciousness, take pictures. It's that mix, again, moments of clarity or detail, then complete delusion.
And Nancy Jr. apparently shed some light on Adlai's references to possession.
Yeah, she said their mother had sometimes dismissed his problems using that term, possession.
Which could suggest maybe a lack of understanding within the family about the true nature, the likely mental health nature of his struggles.
It certainly points to a potential disconnect, adding another tragic dimension. This leads us straight into his documented mental health history.
Right. There was discharge paperwork from a hospital stay ending September 27th, 2024, so just a couple of weeks before the killings.
And it stated he'd been admitted for psychosis. He reported auditory hallucinations, men telling him to kill himself, women telling him to surrender.
And he said these voices had been going on for years, but he had just been ignoring them.
Which is, wow. He also apparently believed police had some kind of secret intelligence about his reality and expressed wanting to join the police academy. It's a really concerning picture.
And Nancy Jr., his sister, she confirmed he heard voices. She believed he wasn't taking his medication consistently.
Yeah, she said she'd found his pills in the trash sometimes and described his issues as a kind of schizophrenic break that seemed to have been building up, causing a lot of stress at home.
While he was left alone in the interrogation room at one point, his agitation just seemed to skyrocket.
The footage apparently shows him talking to himself, using names like Officer Angel and Bloodline Jesus.
And then giving commands to someone or something that wasn't there, like, Angel, open the door.
Yeah, suggesting he was actively hallucinating or experiencing delusions right there. It got worse, though.
He became physically distressed.
Extremely. He tried to urinate in the corner of the room, then got really frantic, begging to be let out, saying he was afraid of soldiers.
That increasing paranoia, the detachment, it's quite clear he was in deep distress.
And that distress culminated in violence. He actually kicked a hole through the drywall of the interrogation room.
Seriously. He tried to escape.
Apparently so. Deputies had to apprehend him again. And because the holding room was now damaged and maybe inadequate, they decided to secure him in a police vehicle instead.
It just shows the level of volatility they were dealing with.
So when you think about why this happened, what could possibly trigger such an event? Nancy Jr.'s thoughts about family arguments, maybe specifically with his teenage sister Brill over his medication.
That seems like a plausible stressor, especially given his mental state and her belief he wasn't taking his meds.
And then you have the stark contrast between Adlai's initial claim self-defense, they rushed him, and the actual evidence.
Yeah, the autopsy results really undermine that self-defense narrative completely.
They really do. David, the father, gunshot wounds to his arm, chest, and crucially, the back of his head.
Back of the head, that's not typically consistent with self-defense against someone rushing you.
Exactly. Nancy, the mother. A gunshot wound to her back, plus significant blunt force trauma to her face, and bruises almost everywhere.
And Brill, the 17-year-old sister, a gunshot wound to her eye, and blunt force trauma to her hand and face.
The sheer brutality and the nature of these injuries, it points towards something far more complex and violent than his initial story.
So based on all this evidence gathered?
Adlai Mistra was charged with, well, a lot. 3 counts of first-degree murder. 3 counts of tampering with evidence.
Plus the animal cruelty charge for the dog.
Right. Extreme cruelty to animals. And also escape from custody for the incident in the interrogation room and criminal damage to property for kicking the hole in the wall.
And again, just to be clear, as stated in the source material, at the time that information was current, he hadn't been convicted or sentenced. These are the charges?
Correct. Presumption of innocence applies.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we're left with just this incredibly disturbing picture. Adlai's bizarre behavior and his conflicting statements from the very beginning.
The truly graphic crime scene, the documented history of severe mental health struggles.
And the absolute tragedy of the Mestre family being wiped out like that. David, Nancy, and young Brill.
It's devastating. And despite all the details we've gone through from the sources, there's still so many unanswered questions, aren't there? The full picture is elusive, leaving this profound sense of unease.
Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe for everyone listening to consider. When you look at this case, the complex mix of mental illness, family dynamics, the sheer horror of the violence, what does it tell us about, I don't know, the fragility of normalcy?
And maybe about how unseen crises, these pressures building beneath the surface, can just erupt with such utterly catastrophic results.
Yeah, it really forces you to think about the multiple overlapping layers of tragedy involved here. It's a deeply unsettling story. Welcome, everyone. You're joining us for a deep dive today, and we're looking into, well, a really disturbing case out of Denver.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to unpack the circumstances surrounding the death of 17-year-old Jasmin Rivas-Hernandez. This happened back in March of 2022.
That's right. And for this, we've got a few different sources we're drawing from. First, there are the initial news reports, right after it happened, from 9 New WS and Denver 7 in Denver.
Okay, so the local perspective right away.
Exactly. They covered the immediate aftermath, the community reaction, all that. Then we also have reports that came out much later, nearly 10 months later, actually.
10 months, wow.
Yeah, from the New York Post and the Denver Gazette. And these ones, they detail the arrests that were eventually made.
Okay, so that's our sort of mission here then. We want to understand that whole journey, right? Trace the initial shock, that grief, the family just begging for answers, and then see how the investigation unfolded, leading eventually to those arrests.
It's a real contrast, isn't it, between those early, very emotional pleas and then the later, more kind of fact-based police work coming out.
Definitely. So let's start at the beginning. March 2022, those first reports. What do we know about the scene, the discovery of Jasmine's body?
Well, the reports from 9NEWS and Denver 7, they paint a pretty grim picture. Jasmine was found on a Saturday afternoon, March 26th, just after 12:30 p.m.
Midday.
Yeah, in an alley near Colfax in Quebec in Denver. And police, they immediately called it a homicide.
Right from the start. No question it was foul play.
No. But what really hits you, I think, in those first reports is the raw emotion from her family and friends. It's just palpable.
Yeah, you really get a sense of that intense grief. How did they remember her? What did they say about Jasmine?
They talked about her being kind, caring, and full of life. That phrase came up. And, something that seemed especially tragic was she was just out to turn 18 in June. She was apparently really looking forward to it.
Oh, wow. So close to that milestone.
Exactly. And you saw that grief reflected publicly, too. Friends and family set up a memorial right away, balloons, flowers.
Very visual outpouring.
Yeah. And her mother's words, they were quoted in the reports, just incredibly heartbreaking. She said, "That's my baby. And they took my baby away from me where she didn't have to. They didn't have to do that. There's no reason." She's a little baby. Her life was just beginning. I mean, you feel the weight of that loss.
You really do. Just devastating. And it wasn't just her mother, right? Other family members were speaking out too?
Oh, absolutely. They were all sharing this sense of devastation, but also this desperate need to understand why. What happened?
And there was a follow-up report, I think, from 9 and UWS that mentioned their frustration.
Yes, exactly. A few days later, they were just feeling lost. No information was coming out. Jasmine's cousin, Diana Hernandez, she said, we want answers, and we want to know why this happened. It just makes no sense.
Just left hanging in the dark.
Totally. Waiting for police, waiting for any news. Diana also said something really poignant, like, "I'm never going to get to see her again. I'm never going to get to talk to her again. And it's just because somebody took that from me." That really sticks with you.
Yeah, that sense of finality. And the Denver 7 report, did it add more about Jasmine herself?
It did. Friends describe her as a loving sibling. She had plans, ambitions. She wanted to finish school, get a job, make her own money, get ahead.
Just starting out.
Right. Her grandmother also spoke about the heartbreak, just the simple, awful fact that she'd never talked to Jasmine again. And across the board, there was this strong demand for accountability. The family saying the person responsible needs to pay for it for the rest of her life.
A real cry for justice. But interestingly, in those early reports, they didn't say how she died, did they?
No, that's a key point. They stated it was a homicide investigation, but the actual cause of death, not mentioned initially.
Which is common, I guess, to protect the investigation.
Often, yes. Police hold back details like that. But you have to imagine, for the family, grieving like that, and not even knowing the specifics of how she died, that must have been just another layer of agony.
Yeah, unbearable. Okay, so let's shift gears. We jump forward almost 10 months, January 2023, and the story changes with these reports from the New York Post and the Denver Gazette.
Right. This is where we get the major development. Arrests. After all that time, all that public silence from investigators, suddenly 3 people are arrested in connection with Jasmine's death.
Who were they?
Robert Adam Solano, who was 34, Joseph Thomas Chavez, 26, and Shiloh Fresquez, 21.
Okay. And did these later reports finally reveal how Jasmine died?
Yes, they did. They confirmed she had been shot to death.
That's awful.
And the Denver Gazette, it got quite specific, citing the autopsy report. It mentioned gunshot wounds to her torso, back, neck, and her right arm.
Wow. That paints a really violent picture.
It really does. And then the New York Post added another detail based on a police affidavit that was, well, very disturbing.
What was that?
It reported that when Jasmine's body was found, her legs were crossed at the ankles, and they were tied together with a pair of white headphones.
Tied with headphones?
Yeah.
That's incredibly bizarre and chilling. What does something like that even suggest?
Well, for investigators, a detail like that is something they'd look at very closely. It could hint at the perpetrator's state of mind, maybe some element of control, maybe even point towards a motive that wasn't obvious. It certainly suggests it wasn't just random.
Right. It feels more calculated somehow. So how did the police actually link these 3 individuals, Solano, Chavez, and Fresquez, to the crime after all that time? What was the evidence?
It seems like it was a combination of things. A key piece was a stolen truck.
Okay.
Surveillance footage caught this truck near the alley around the time Jasmine was killed. And Joseph Chavez's DNA was found inside that truck.
His DNA in the truck near the scene, that's a strong link.
A very strong link.
And
a bit more direct. Jasmine's blood was also found in that same truck.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Chavez is linked by DNA and her blood in this vehicle. What about the other 2, Solano and Fresquez?
Cell phone records seem to be the key for them.
Ah, location data.
Exactly. The reports say cell records placed both Fresquez and Solano, who were apparently a couple near the alley where Jasmine's body was discovered, right around the time she died.
So you've got forensic evidence from the truck for Chavez, and then location data putting Fresquez and Solano right there, too.
It seems to be the picture, yeah. DNA, blood, phone records. That combination appears to be what led investigators to them.
And what were the specific charges they faced? Were they all the same?
No, they varied. Robert Adam Solano, he got the most serious charge, first-degree murder.
Okay. Accused of the killing itself.
Right. Then Joseph Thomas Chavez, his charges were accessory to a crime of first-degree murder and also abuse of a corpse.
Abuse of a corpse. That might relate to the headphones detail.
It's possible. Or perhaps other actions taken after her death. And the third person, Shiloh Fresquez, she was charged with accessory to a crime of first-degree murder, like Chavez, but also attempt to influence a public servant.
Interesting. So, different alleged roles. Solano as the main perpetrator, the other two as accessories after the fact, essentially.
That's how the charge is laid out, yes.
Right.
The attempt to influence a public servant charge for Fresquez also raises questions about maybe misleading investigators.
Yeah, perhaps. And didn't the reports mention something about Solano and Chavez already being locked up?
They did, yeah. When the warrants for Jasmine's murder were issued, both Solano and Chavez were already in custody on unrelated charges. Fresquez, she was arrested earlier in January. So the investigation was clearly moving forward behind the scenes, even while these guys were potentially being held for other things.
It really shows how complex these investigations can be, doesn't it? Multiple threads running at once.
Absolutely. But one thing that wasn't revealed in those January 2023 reports, at least not publicly by the police, was the motive.
Still no why.
Still no clear answer to why she was killed, why Jasmine was targeted.
And even with the arrests, that huge question mark must have still been hanging over everything for the family.
Without a doubt. The New York Post article actually circled back to that initial quote from Diana Hernandez, Jasmine's cousin.
The one saying, "It just makes no sense."
That's the one. They included it again, highlighting that even with suspects in custody, that fundamental senselessness of the tragedy was still overwhelming for the family.
Yeah, it kind of brings it all back around, doesn't it? The arrests are a massive step, obviously, but they don't automatically erase the pain or answer every single question.
Not at all. It's often just one stage in a very long process for the families involved.
Okay, so let's just recap this deep dive. You've heard this incredibly tragic story unfold. We started back in March 2022 with the discovery of Jasmine's body, that immediate outpouring of grief from the community and her family just desperate for information.
A really raw and uncertain time.
Then, nearly 10 long months of, well, apparent silence before those arrests finally happened in January 2023.
And those arrests brought new, awful details about how Jasmine died, the shooting, the detail about the headphones. But they also revealed how investigators, painstakingly pieced together the evidence, the DNA, the blood, the phone records, to identify the suspects.
And you can really see that stark difference, can't you? Between the initial reports, full of emotion and questions, and the later ones, detailing the investigation's progress. The picture became clearer, but definitely more disturbing.
It did. The facts emerged slowly, painting a fuller picture over time.
It really leaves you thinking, though. Arrests are made, yes, but you just can't fathom what Jasmine's family is still going through after that kind of loss, and such a long, agonizing wait for answers.
Absolutely, and the legal process is likely far from over for them.
Right. What comes next? Trials, court proceedings, and maybe more broadly, what does this whole case, this journey from discovery to arrest, tell us about, the complex path to finding justice after something so violent?
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, of the immense impact these crimes have, not just on the immediate family, but on the whole community, and the often long, difficult road towards any kind of resolution. A lot to reflect on.
Okay, this is, wow. 2 bodies found in the woods, right behind a Walmart in Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's the kind of headline that just stops you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Very disturbing.
Absolutely. We've been looking through the initial reports, NBC, Boston, Mass Live. There was a video report from WCB Channel 5, too.
Trying to piece together what's actually known at this early stage.
Exactly. The goal here is really just to unpack the key facts, get a clearer picture of this story as it's unfolding.
On the setting itself, behind a Walmart, it's so everyday, yet the scene of something so violent.
Right. It really makes you think. So let's lay out the timeline. It started Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
A man's out walking his dog, apparently in the woods behind the Highland Avenue Walmart.
And he finds something.
He finds what looks like a body, calls the police, and when they get there, they find a second body nearby.
2 bodies. Just awful. And this was, pretty close to the store?
Yeah, the report said about 100 feet from one corner in this wooded patch that they taped off.
Right. A public space, but also sort of hidden, I suppose.
Exactly. And we know both victims were male. No IDs released yet, though.
Still unidentified. That's tough. And the details about how they were found, pretty grim.
Yeah, the prosecutor mentioned this at the arraignment. They said the bodies showed signs of blunt force trauma and stab wounds.
So definitely violent deaths, not accidental.
Not at all. And they were apparently hidden, covered by, quote, various items and dirt.
Which suggests someone tried to conceal them, deliberately.
Points to covering tracks, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah.
A conscious effort after the fact.
Which leads us to the arrest. Happened very fast.
Yeah, Jay Blodgett, 30 years old, arrested and charged.
2 counts of murder. His arraignment was Thursday morning.
And a not guilty plea was entered for him.
Standard procedure at this point, right? But here's something interesting.
Oh.
The specific facts of the case. They've been sealed, impounded until a probable cause hearing on May 28th.
Ah, okay. So the prosecution is holding a lot back right now. That usually means they have sensitive details or the investigation is still very active.
Could be. But even with things sealed, the prosecutor did say something pretty significant.
What was that?
That Blodgett eventually made a statement implicating himself in the murders.
Implicating himself. Okay, that's huge, even if we don't know the exact words or context yet.
Right. We don't know why they zeroed in on him so fast. The sources don't say. But that alleged statement is clearly central.
It puts him right in the middle of it. Did he say anything else in court?
Only briefly. Apparently just about getting his court-appointed lawyer sorted out.
Okay. And he's being held.
Yeah, held without bail.
That's significant. Shows the court sees him as a potential flight risk or danger based on whatever evidence was presented, even if sealed from the public.
Definitely serious. Now, let's talk about Blodgett himself, because his recent history, it adds a whole other layer here.
Okay, what do we know?
Police records show he was arrested just last week.
For what?
For allegedly breaking into a storage container with a hacksaw.
A hacksaw. Okay. And where was this storage container?
This is the key part. It was near the Walmart. And the reason he was apparently breaking in, he'd just been kicked out of the area he'd been living in.
Let me guess.
Yep. The woods behind the Walmart on Highland Avenue.
Yeah.
The same woods where the bodies were just found.
Wow. Okay, so there's a direct connection. He was living there, got kicked out, and then this happens right after.
Yeah.
That's a strong link to the location.
Definitely. And during that storage container incident, which was like April 17th, he reportedly told the police he had no place to go now.
Sounds desperate. Was he trying to live in the container?
Seems like it. He'd apparently brought a mattress inside, was tossing stuff out to make room.
Huh. Was anything taken from it?
Some jewelry was reported missing. He denied taking it, though.
Okay, so a possible theft element there, too, but denied. What else from that earlier arrest?
Well, when they arrested him for the container break-in, they seized his bike, a green one, and get this, over $6,700 in cash.
Whoa, wait. Is $6,700? Where did he say he got that?
He apparently claimed it was from panhandling.
That seems like a very large amount for panhandling, doesn't it?
It really does. That detail definitely jumps out. You have to wonder where that money actually came from.
Absolutely. Investigators must be looking hard at that. Any connection to the victims, maybe? Or the motive? It's a big question mark.
For sure. And it sounds like he was known around there. Neighbors called him a well-known panhandler.
So people recognized him.
Yeah, one guy who works nearby even said he knew him, thought he was the nicest guy, always said hi, said he'd given him money before.
And this person was surprised by the murder charges.
Very surprised, according to the report.
It just shows, you often don't know the full story behind the people you see every day. A disconnect between that perception and these charges.
Definitely a disconnect. And remember, this specific wooded area, it had those wildfires last year, too.
Right, I remember that. So maybe it's a bit neglected, perhaps?
Yeah.
Less monitored?
Could be. Maybe why someone felt they could, camp out there, or unfortunately, why a crime might happen there.
Makes sense. So what's next for the investigation?
Well, the Salem police chief, Lucas Miller, he emphasized how exceptionally fast the arrest was made.
Trying to reassure the public, I imagine.
Yeah, and he stated there's no current threat to the public now, implying they believe they have the person responsible.
Which points back to Blodgett and that alleged statement.
Exactly. We also know Blodgett's lawyer is planning to look into his mental health.
That's not surprising. It's a standard and important angle to explore in cases this serious. It could impact everything down the line.
Yeah. And the prosecutor mentioned a 90-minute interview Blodgett gave police. That'll be crucial evidence, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. Both sides will be dissecting that interview very carefully.
So the next key date is that probable cause hearing, May 28th.
That's when we might get more concrete details. Perhaps some of that sealed information could come out, see what evidence the prosecution actually has.
Right. So to sum it up, 2 men, still unidentified, Murdered violently, blunt force. Stab wounds found hidden in the woods behind the Salem Walmart.
And Jay Blodgett, who was apparently homeless and living in those same woods until recently, is arrested quickly, charged with their murders after allegedly implicating himself.
Plus, there's that prior arrest just days before the significant amount of cash.
Yeah, lots of pieces. But still, huge questions remain. Who are the victims? What was the motive?
Did Blodgett know them? What's the real story behind that $6,700?
Exactly. So much we don't know yet.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about, the hidden things happening in places you walk past every day, the complexities under the surface.
Absolutely. And it leaves you wondering, when those sealed details eventually come out in May, what are they going to reveal about what really happened in those woods?
Yeah. It's a deeply disturbing situation, and we'll certainly be watching for more information. Leaves you with a lot to think about.